Good evening and welcome to the IPA Free Sports Premier League of Poole. We are once again in Solihull at the fantastic Riley's Pool and Snooker Club, and we are all set for the finals night. We started over 14 weeks ago with 10 of the best players on the planet. We are down to our final 4. I'm delighted to be joined by IPA Chairman Kevin Barton. Good evening, Kev.
Evening, Simon.
And let's have a look at the final league table. You see there, Neil Raybone finished top of the table, Simon Ward second, Mark Boyle third, and Jimmy Carney fourth. It was a dramatic conclusion to last week's or Tuesday night's action, with Jimmy Carney earning a point on the final match of the day to knock Craig Marsh out. Now let's have a look at the conclusion.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Craig
wow.
Marsh can't believe it. He's just walked off.
Does that yellow go past the black?
Jimmy's not wasting any time. This is all about the pace of the white ball. It looks good. It looks very good. It looks perfect. Wow, that looks tight.
Oh, Craig Marsh cannot believe what he's just seen.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jimmy Carney is in the semi-finals of the Premier League in the most dramatic fashion possible.
That is incredible. Jimmy Carney somehow manages to make it through, and it's at Craig Marsh's expense. Had that black gone in, it would have been Craig Marsh in the final 4, but it's not, it's Jimmy Carney. Absolutely incredible scenes on Tuesday night. We've had over 3 months and it came down to the final frame. Incredible scene, Kev. Have you recovered yet?
Not really. Last Tuesday just had absolutely everything and culminated in that dramatic finish as we've just seen. And, tonight we've got 4 of the best players in the world who are going to go head-to-head, and we're going to have more drama tonight, that's for certain.
And we've got Neil Raybone versus Jimmy Carney as our first match, followed by Mark Boyle and Simon Ward. And earlier on today, I caught up with Neil Raybone and Jimmy Carney. Good evening, Neil. Looking forward to tonight's match?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, it's all down to tonight, really. It's been a long road in terms of the group matches, but looking forward to tonight and hopefully play well.
You've made fairly smooth progress, been near the top pretty much all the way through. Tonight's a slightly different dynamic as we're back to knockout form. Is that something you're going to change the way you approach it?
No, I'm going to try and keep the same attitude in terms of like staying positive throughout the match, and just obviously try and play well. And if I play well, I've got every chance really. So looking forward to it.
And obviously your opponent tonight's Jimmy Carney, someone you've played many times before. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, Jimmy's done great in his Premier League. I think a lot of people wrote Jimmy off at the start, really, and he's done brilliant. Obviously, he was top of the league, joint top of the league after phase 1, and had some great results. So I think I'm in for a tough match, but looking forward to it.
Okay, well, best of luck tonight, Neil.
That's great. Thanks, Simon.
Hi, Jimmy. It's good to see you. Just want to get your thoughts ahead of tonight's match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Always have a good game with Neil. We've played 100 times in the last 2 years, and I expect a tight affair.
I want to get your thoughts on the way Tuesday concluded and what you've done since then.
I went to work yesterday, delivered over 100 parcels, thought about it every second, floated through the round. But yeah, I relaxed last night and watched a bit of telly, a bit of pie, mash and liquor. So I'm all good, I'm all chilled and really looking forward to tonight.
Are you giving yourself the chance to sort of look ahead and what it would mean to win this title, or are you just trying to focus on your semi-final?
All thoughts have gone through my head. I thought about winning it, I thought about losing. But yeah, I'm just taking one ball at a time and try and get in the zone as I keep doing every week.
Well, all the best tonight, Jimmy. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
It's great to get the players' thoughts ahead of this match, and there is their recent head-to-head on the IPA Tour, with Jimmy Carney winning 3 and Neil Raybone winning 2. Neil winning perhaps the most important one, the World Championships quarterfinals in a deciding frame back in February. I'm now absolutely delighted to be joined in the commentary box by IPA professional Dan Davey. Evening, Dan.
Good evening. Yeah, what a night it's going to be. I think Jimmy Carney can't really be called an underdog anymore, can he?
Well, the bookies disagree. They've still got him as the underdog for this match, but
How dare they? Have they not learnt?
it's a tag that he does not like, I know.
He doesn't know, and we joke about underdog. I mean, slight underdog. You know, I think he's nearly 2-1 to win the match. He's hardly 10-1.
No,
you know,
absolutely.
but I think deep down he likes it. I reckon. Just that it's a nice pressure to be under.
Yeah, well,
You know,
maybe looking to prove people wrong rather than...
Yes, there's no disrespect. He's not 5, 6, 7-1 in a 2-horse race, but he knows, and because people tell him, you know, he's the underdog. You know, people stick him in their bets because they want value, and yeah, great value he is, I think.
No, absolutely. He really is a good value bet because this is a race to 6, but it can go absolutely either way. This.
I loved his interview. What did you do yesterday? Well, I delivered 100 parcels. Just gold, wasn't it? He's such a funny character. I really do like Jimmy.
Yeah, he makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah, but very dedicated when it comes to his pool. Does a lot of coaching, practices a lot.
Yeah, and he's always the first player here. Wants to get a couple hours in early and then go off and get some food, come back for the match.
Yeah, he's a bit of a creature of habit, isn't he? I don't arrive till quite late, but I know you were here a bit sooner sometimes, sort of setting up the arena and that. And I remember seeing him once in the little Italian restaurant that's just below the venue. And he likes to. He's very superstitious. A lot of people won't know this about Jimmy, but he's when he's at tournaments, he doesn't like to look at the draw, and he gets really, really annoyed. So he'll know, for example, he'll get a friend of his to look at the draw to see who he's got, but all they're allowed to do is tell him, right, Jimmy, you're playing at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it must be really frustrating for the friend that he gets to go and do that all the time.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, in this sort of event, though, you can't do that. You can't get away from who you're playing. He would have known when he left he was playing Neil in tonight's semi-final.
Maybe you should start finding out, because it hasn't served him too badly this time round, has it?
No, absolutely not.
I remember thinking next time I play him, I'm going to tell him, all right, Jimmy, me and you at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know it'd get in his head.
To be honest, I think that I asked him about this a month or so ago at a tournament, and I just said, you know, what's the real reason for doing it? And he said there is a sort of psychological reason, because he wants to just concentrate on his own game and not worry about who he's playing. But also, he can't stand the conversation that you have when you're at a tournament, is when everyone comes up and says, oh, who you got next? Oh, what's your record like them against? You know, that sort of thing. He'd rather just go, I don't know, I don't care.
True, I agree to an extent, actually. I mean, the whole, or when when you're perhaps playing somebody that you should beat, and people say, oh, that's a nice draw, and you think, well, no, actually, he's a good player, and I can, you know, so I do understand the psyche behind sort of just saying that they're all good players. I just want to concentrate on my game, and if it's good enough, it's good enough.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a disaster, an early disaster for Jimmy. He was just playing a safety shot and as a fluke to red, but he wanted to be yellows, which is why I say it's a little bit of a disaster.
Yeah, and only a little bit, because I don't think there's a clear better set of balls. You know, it's I think they're both got their problems really. So.
Yeah, and this is similar to the league stages. It's still a 30-second shot clock. It is still 1 30-second extension per frame per player. But there's a slightly different dynamic. Do you think it will see any difference in the way the players approach tonight, in terms of we're back to a normal knockout tournament, if you like, semi-final, final, rather than there being a possible draw?
I do. Yeah, I think naturally it will probably. I think at the start of the tournament, everybody's goal would be to make it to tonight. So the fact that both of these are here, I would like to think they're going to sort of produce their best pool, and they're probably going to be fairly relaxed about the night, the occasion, and the fact that you've got a slightly longer race. I think just a little bit less pressure to settle, you know, a little bit less pressure on those early frames as well. Yeah,
I think you've got to win 6 out of 11 frames rather than having to win 4 out of 6. It just seems a lot that taking that draw element out, I think, can just give them a little bit more breathing room to help them settle.
Yeah, and
I also think from Jimmy's side of the table, having finished phase 1 joint top of the table in second place on frame difference alone, he almost seemed to he almost backed into the finals night in a way, in terms of he sort of almost was guarding against losing, and it felt a little bit more tentative. And I think because of the way he made it into tonight, I've got a feeling that Jimmy's going to really relax, and we might see some of his absolute best pool tonight.
I couldn't agree more. I literally agree with you word for word. I think I was saying this to a friend of mine today, and I think that you definitely got that. I think Simon Ward had it to a certain extent. Obviously, he drew although he did play well, drew 3 matches in a row, and you kind of get when you're joint top of the league and you know that it's completely in your hands. I think there is a bit of a kind of playing. You're not playing not to lose, but it's that mentality, like you.
It's almost like you've got something to lose. Like, I know that even though Simon qualified with a match to spare, because he was top of the table after phase 1, there was definitely a sense of relief when he got the points he needed to make himself safe.
Definitely. His body language was so different in that match that he played against Jimmy. He just looked a bit more relaxed and played well, actually, aside from that one disaster of a black that cost him a friendship in Craig Marsh.
Yeah, and those of you that weren't aware, that black that Simon missed obviously cost his good friend Craig Marsh a place in tonight's final. But worse than that for Simon, they actually share the journey to the venue together. So they actually had a 2 to 3 hour drive home straight afterwards, which would have been a little frosty.
Just a little. I was, it would have been interesting to be a fly on the wall in that.
I don't think there would have been too much said.
You just literally couldn't write it, could you? So this happens, and so do these two players know each other well? Yeah, they've probably spent about 100 hours in the car together during the course of this Premier League. Oh, brilliant! But I agree as well. As Jimmy's, he would have loved it if that didn't drop. I was just about to say, as Jimmy's kind of looks like he's taking control of the frame a little. I do agree with what you say about Jimmy, because he was in such a good position after phase 1 to then struggle like he did, and not just in terms of results, he didn't play as well as he played. I've watched it all, every frame, and he did not play as well as he played in those first few matches. It wasn't that the luck started going against him, or the run of the ball, or the breaks, or anything like that. He played brilliant in that first phase, and he didn't play quite as well in the second phase. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that. Up until the last match, actually, I think he played. He was back. He knew he had to get a result, and I think he played really positive in his last match against Simon. And it was only because of the chances that Simon got that was limiting Jimmy's chances. And I actually think he was back on the front foot again.
He was, but I think he was back to that mentality of I have to win now, because he needed a result from that match. He needed a minimum of a draw.
Yeah.
So, there's no, and I think we might well see that again tonight. Now he's just relaxed. He's through. He was 1 ball away from being out of this tournament. If Jimmy, and it's only an if, but if he, for example, finds himself 3-1, 4-1 down in this match, he can just sit there and think, look, Jimmy, you were a fairly simple black away from being out of this tournament just 48 hours ago. Just relax, give it a go. I think that might help him. It might be the difference between him getting over the line and not.
Yeah, almost free rolling a little bit. You see it almost in every tournament you go to. The person that wins, they normally have somewhere along the line, they'll have a match where they don't play very well and they'll feel like they've got away with it, and then they kick on again. And it's almost a drawn-out version of that.
There's times in the past where I've done well in a tournament, and the amount of times where you come back from the brink, as we see a foul there. I need to just stop and talk about that. That was.
It looks a horrible shot because he's queuing over all those balls, but it's still a major surprise to see him queue straight over the top of the ball. That's almost a club error. You don't see that in the professional game. Well, I can't remember the last time I saw anything like that in the professional game. Very strange.
No, it's maybe a sign of early nerves, and it's a clever shot from Jimmy. He's got the option now to go aggressive and go for the finish, although it's not going to be easy with the route he takes. Does he? I think he does have to take this red that's over the bottom right corner.
I'm not sure if the only other red he can see that's next to those 2 yellows in the middle of the table goes to the left middle. He could take that on potentially, as long as he's not flicking in off the centre pocket off the yellow. Maybe take that in a way that if it goes in, he's got a finish on. If it doesn't, he's still got the pocket covered.
Maybe, yeah. I think his problem is that if he doesn't take the red that's over the bottom right-hand corner pocket now and goes up table first, like you say, the red into the middle, if he does miss, now he's got control of this pocket bottom left as we look at it, but Neil's going to have so many chances and options to play a skill shot and go into that. I mean, it'll go into it right away. It'll go into it now, and I think Jimmy might just rue the chance to just be a little bit more aggressive there. If you're going to win it, I think you've got to come out here and kind of take the ball by the horns. You can't.
I don't mind the shot choice so much, but he needs to get that white a lot further across to the right-hand side to stop Neil being able to play the shot you're talking about.
Yeah, I think, and he's done it straight away, and now it may not have come out great for Neil, but I think there's a plant to the left middle. The three that are clustered together, I think he can make that. And I think Jimmy's going to sit there and think, oh, we should have just gone aggressive, because when you're playing top level, I don't think you can afford to do that as often. If that was in the club or county B level, county C level, then maybe that's the right thing to do against Neil Raybone. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's perhaps one of the rare times that you play the player and not the table. You know, if you're playing, you know, if you are playing a lesser level, that you're not going to lose a frame off it very often. But if you give Neil an opportunity like he's just had, it looks secure, but he's one shot and he's turned it around. So can't argue with what you're saying at all.
I think sometimes you do have to. It's a good mentality to just play the table and do what you would do at all times, no matter who you're playing against. But you have to be wary that the shot Jimmy tried there was so difficult. All he had to do was just pop that red over the corner pocket, screw up table, and it was a tough finish, but at least you're in first.
Yeah, it was a tough finish, but every ball went, every ball had a pocket. It was just a case of manoeuvring the white around, and it was there for him.
Yeah. Well, time will tell.
Yeah, Neil's worked this finish quite nicely here. He's in pretty good shape to take these out now.
He's a master of this when there's 4, 5, 6. Easy, but not absolute gimmies. He's very, very good at just picking them off in the right order. He's so good at that. If you were to teach somebody how to play the game, you would, if you used to call it textbook, for example, you would probably look along the lines of somebody like Neil Raybone.
Yeah, I get asked quite a lot, who's your favourite player to watch, and you know, who do you enjoy watching, that sort of stuff. And I surprise a lot of people because I say Neil Raybone. He's probably not high on everyone's list just because of the style of play, but I say that because I'm trying to learn the game and improve, and watching the way he goes about finishes, if you can replicate that in any way, then you can't, you know, you're learning a lot. And you know, if you want to see someone that's going to make the right shot choice, then Neil is right up there.
Couldn't agree more.
And Neil does punish that decision from Jimmy Carney and takes the 1-0 lead. Slightly strange first frame. We're going to see an awful lot of finishes from the break tonight. We're going to see a lot of quick frames. So every now and then you get one of these tactical frames thrown in. It just happened to be the first frame of the night. I don't know if that's going to have helped both players settle down or whether Jimmy will still be a little bit on edge from it.
Yeah, I think he needs to get that out of his mind immediately, because it was only a minor error. It's not as though he's missed an easy ball or anything like that. So put it to the back of your mind, Jimmy.
And then we have a look at Neil's recent results in the Premier League, and you can see the bottom one there. He played Jimmy Carney on Tuesday night and beat him comfortably 4-1. He played a very, very solid match there, to be fair. Earlier on in the year, he also played Jimmy in the Phase 1, and it was a 4-4 draw there. So a win and a draw for Neil.
I think the obvious thing to look at really is that his last 7 of his last 8 matches, he's won 4, drawn 3, and only lost 1. And when you are playing the best of the best, that's some record.
Time running.
Neil to break. Very consistent with his break. Doesn't necessarily get a huge smash on them, but he's definitely, it's definitely not a weakness in his game, and he's
Well, he's absolutely crunched that break.
It's a fantastic break.
One thing, I obviously I watch a lot of Paul, commentate on a lot of Paul, and I'm looking for the break. I'm looking for the explosion of the pack and what's happening with the white. And Neil, he got that white straight up and down the middle of the table, and he got a massive explosion of the pack. He has made, what's he made there? He's made a couple of balls, and he's opened up those reds very, very nicely.
Extension called?
Yeah, just taking his extension. We'll see that a lot on this Premier League, the players taking their extension first visit, because this is the one, where you just need to give it that extra bit of care. And all he's doing, he knew from the very, very start he was going to play this red into the top left corner as we're going to see him play it now. But he's just figuring out his route and exactly what order he wants to take the balls in. And that's the difference between making a tricky finish easy or a tricky finish a non-finish.
Yeah, you don't want to create work for yourself, do you? If you can get that, that's the one thing you notice with the top players, that it's the way they go about the finishes. You can be forgiven for thinking they always get easy finishes. They don't. It's the way they make them look easy.
Make it look easy. You can have all the ability in the world. You can practice 40 hours a week, but if you don't take the balls in the right order, you're never, ever going to get to that elite level. Never.
And it's the big difference between the players. You know, there's obviously temperament and there's potting ability and that sort of stuff and how you're going to control the white. But the difference in potting ability and cue ball control between the 10 players we've had in this Premier League is absolutely minimal.
Yeah.
It comes down to other factors, and shot selection is right up there.
There are many, many players on the tour that are super talented, tons of ability, great to watch actually as well. Exciting to watch from a neutral's perspective, but capable of beating anybody. And now and again they will pop up and beat a top player, sometimes comfortably, but you'll never see them in the final of a tournament. And it's because they can't do that match after match after match if they're not consistent. It's just about okay from Neil. It looked like that was going to just come up table and snook himself, but he's fine.
You stopped in your tracks then, didn't you? You thought that white just bounced too far.
Yeah, he interrupted me.
I'm a little bit surprised he's left this for his last ball, because it's not a great last ball.
It's not, but I think sometimes when you got a finish like this, the finish was fairly planned out, and from the very start, I think he had to kind of say to himself, look, you're going to have one tricky positional shot to play to win yourself the frame. He's played it as well as he could, really, and he's got a 9 out of 10 black to take the second frame. And the fact he's 1-0 up as well, this is so much more comfortable than if you're 1-0 down.
Neil does make the black to complete the break and dish, and really hammering home that slight tactical mistake, shall we say, from Jimmy Carney in frame one.
It is the best case scenario for Neil Raybone and the absolute worst for Jimmy. After that first frame is to him just hammer home that advantage by taking that next frame with a breaking finish. A massive break and finishing now. It's 2-0 up. Jimmy from here needs to win 6-3. That's tough against anybody, let alone against Neil Raybone.
Let's have a look at Jimmy Carney's recent results, and you can see all those wins there in the phase one. He had quite a few wins at the beginning of phase one as well, but from the 25th of October onwards, that's all his phase two results, and you can see how he's gone from being right at the top, you know, lost, drew, lost, drew.
He just hung on, just clung on and just hung in there and got through.
He knew when he was playing Gareth Hibbert on the 25th of October, he knew he probably needed one win.
Probably,
you know,
yeah.
maybe a win and a draw.
I think looking at it, 3 points he knew would have done it, yeah. And the longer he went without getting it, the more sort of the more nervous he looked. I think he looked most nervous in those first 2 matches of Tuesday night. But did well in that last match, got his chance. You could probably say, to be fair, a draw was a fair result.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the way the breaks went and everything as well. So
yeah, and
nothing away from him.
I think that was by far and away the best match he played in the whole of the second phase. And I think barring for a horrendous kick in the second frame where he was on for a 2-0 lead, I think he probably would have got the draw without the drama at the end. But I'm pleased as a fan of Paul, that I got to see all that drama.
Oh, and they are nervy ones as well. First ball of the frame, awkward cueing off the cushion, awkward shots. horrible shots to play first up, and even more horrible when you're 2-0 down. Jimmy's missed there, and Neil's in here, and
He'll be really frustrated as well, because that was a really good break and a good chance to get his first frame on the board. If that first pot goes in, you look at the rest of the table and go, it's hard to see where he makes the mistake. And now it's Neil's opportunity to take.
yeah, not an easy finish for Neil, but one that if I was Jimmy, I'd be fearing the worst. I think especially given that Neil's got a 2-0 lead, and yeah, I think he's in trouble here. I think we could be looking at 3-0 for Neil Raybone. He's got this problem area, bottom left-hand side of the table as we look at it. I don't think he can actually cut that yellow in unless you're right next to it, playing it with rakes of side spin. I think that's tough, and I think what we're seeing here is the 3-ball plant.
Oh, it's not come out well for him. It was the 3-ball plant, but the yellow has stayed on the high side of the black, so now he's got to solve that problem.
Yeah, I think it was the right shot. You can't really say he's executed it badly, to be honest, can you? Because some shots you do just have to trust the luck. And yeah, I think it's a little harsh there, but a lifeline for Jimmy.
Yeah, if he catches that a fraction off centre on that, the first ball hitting the black, then the black goes one way, the yellow goes the other way, and actually opens up like a dream. Almost caught it too clean.
And I'll tell you something. Now, Neil was a bit rushed there by the shot clock, but he has played that at the absolute perfect pace now. I think he's in perfect position to play this double. Now, when I say perfect position as well, if he was just slightly lower down, he couldn't have played this yellow next into the left middle pocket, and that would have been quite a big problem for him to get on that well afterwards. So
the problem he has, though, yeah, he has played on this one to the middle pocket. The problem he's got is, what does he play on afterwards? It's tricky to get onto your next ball.
Yeah, he needs to miss the red on the way back out, ideally.
It's a great
Just
shot.
missed it. Literally a fag paper in between.
Controlled it very, very well, and it's great to see Neil. He's, you get to see the thought pattern as he's going through the finish. He was immediately after his bad ball, and it didn't work out, so he's immediately gone after the next problem, and so on and so forth. And it's great to see the way he works these problems out.
I think you see the true talent of somebody like Neil. Everybody that plays Paul knows and understands just how good he is, but he's kind of got that reputation as being a bit robotic, horrible to play against, so difficult to beat. But you see when he's down to 30 seconds to play a shot, and he consistently pulls it out of the bag.
Yeah, he's just relentless. You don't see Neil making the same sort of mistakes that you see other players making. He's just so consistent.
And if you're going to start adding to that the ability to pull finishes off the lampshades and pull doubles out, big doubles at big points in matches, he's close to unbeatable.
Yeah, and that's why Neil is really pushing for the #1 ranking. I believe he's currently ranked #3, but he has one tournament left. He's in the semi-finals of the Netherlands World Series event, and I believe with a victory in the Netherlands, he would move to #1 for the season-ending ranking list, which would be a really great achievement.
That'd be a shame, wouldn't it? To
of course, you're there as well.
I play Neil.
Oh, do you play Neil in the semis?
I play Neil in the semis, yeah. And yeah, I think with the rolling 2-year rankings as well. Is that the case? You've had a good study of the rankings, and he's #1 if he.
Yeah, if he wins in the Netherlands, he moves to #1. I think I've had that confirmed. Yeah.
Okay, because of course the Masters, which is up on the weekend of the 17th
yeah.
of November. That's not actually a ranking event, is it? Because you've got the pros in it, but amateurs too.
Absolutely, that's just another event, and we'll see that live on Free Sports in a couple of weekends' time. But you're absolutely right, that isn't a ranking event, and there is just one more ranking event left this year.
So we're Friday, Saturday and Sunday for that, aren't we, live?
Yes, we are. Where's the white going?
Oh, wow.
Now, I mentioned it on his first break, and I said when I looked for on the break is where's the white going to go and what happens to the pack. And on his first break, he got the white to go straight up and down the middle of the table. On this break, you see that he almost put the white straight in the centre pocket, and that tells you he has completely mishit that break. And yes, maybe you can say it's a fraction unlucky because it didn't go straight in, but the white was running very wild.
Yeah, you just don't want to leave it to trust the luck. And fortunately for Jimmy, I think these are as nice as you can really ask for, realistically. The reds here, everything goes, and this is exactly what Jimmy needs to get himself back into the match. No, he's okay there. He's okay there. He didn't have to make that ball.
He's had a touch of luck with the way it came out, because the only ball he's on is the one that is come back and cannon the red, cannon the white.
He has, yeah.
So he's had a touch of fortune, but he's got to make the most of it now and get himself into this match.
Yeah, and this frame is a hell of a lot bigger for Jimmy Carney than it is for Neil Raybone.
Yeah, Neil will probably already be sat in his chair thinking, I'm 3-1, you know, going into the break, I'm 3-1 ahead. You know, he's probably, I wouldn't say completely written it off, but he's not expecting to get a shot in this frame.
He's not known. We'll see Jimmy take these two balls top of the table and then come down for the three. You always like to kind of clear the table in areas if you can. Just try and minimise the travelling that the cue ball has to do. Just keep the game as simple as you possibly can, really. You see Jimmy just looking there exactly where he wants the white with this next shot. But yeah, huge for Jimmy this. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, he'd love to clear these two that are together before plotting the one on the bottom to the bottom right, because that would be a more natural ball just to drop on the black. But he could go either way.
Yeah, no, I'll take this back, and I think as we can see from that angle there, the black actually goes into the right middle. So this is just hold yourself together. Just as long as you put it at the right pace, doesn't want too much angle on this. He's perfect, I think, there. Trace the right-hand side back up table for the black in the middle, and Jimmy Carney's back in the match.
And it is very smoothly done by Jimmy Carney at 3-0 down. He really did need that, and he has made no mistake. The reverse dish to put himself 3-1 behind. As we have a look at those stats. And, it's all Neil Raybone's way, but that reverse dish has given Jimmy a foothold in the match, got himself going. We are playing a race to 6, and we will find out if Jimmy Carney can continue the comeback after the break. Welcome back to the IPA Free Sports Premier League. We are currently halfway through our first semi-final. Neil Raybone is 3-1 ahead of Jimmy Carney, but I think we're going to go over and get a couple of words with Simon Ward ahead of his semi-final.
Simon, we've all just about recovered from the drama of last Tuesday. Have you?
Yeah, it's just about the car journey home was eventful, but I'm just glad to be through, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a night that just had so much drama, and I'm sure we're going to expect the same tonight as well.
I hope not from me. As I say, last week I knew that I had to get a point on the board to qualify. I did that, and I was obviously just conscious of sort of giving the second match my best efforts really, and probably overcompensated a bit.
And obviously tough match tonight as whoever you're going to play tonight, but against Mark Boyle. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, obviously he's in form. He's one of the best players in Scotland. He's one of the best players in the IPA Tour. So it should be a good match.
Okay, well, play well, Simon.
Thank you. Cheers.
Interesting to get Simon's thoughts ahead of his semi-final, and we already touched on it tonight. Dan, it's that car journey home must have been interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall. I think interesting's probably doing a bit of a disservice. A bit shouting and screaming before they got in the car, and then Craig it's probably fortunate for Simon that he had to give Craig a lift home.
Oh yeah, he would have been left behind.
Yeah, otherwise I think Craig would have been down the motorway.
Yeah, I don't think there would have been too much said.
Things like that. When the top players play each other so often, and it's going to happen now and again that you're going to, I suppose it's quite unique in this format that because of the league thing, we never really do that. So it really is like that's never happened before. I mean, he'd have missed balls against Craig himself, or fluked a ball against Craig himself that would have maybe knocked Craig out of the tournament. I'm sure that's happened once or twice in their careers, kind of thing. But quite a unique situation, I suppose.
Yeah, you never really need results to go your way in tournament play, do you? You take care of your own business, and that's it. And it is a slightly strange dynamic, something we don't see very often in pool, but it does create some great drama.
See, a dry break from Jimmy has left Neil Raybone quite possibly the easiest finish of his Premier League, and it's just the last thing Jimmy needs. Hit them well, got a really good split, and he is left just absolute droppings.
Yeah, when you go 3-0 down, you've made a mistake and a half probably, and Neil's played well. You get yourself going with a reverse dish. The first thing you need is a ball off your break. Make a ball and give yourself another chance, and then you're looking at 3-2, and all of a sudden he's going to sit there and he's going to watch Neil just take these out smooth as you like.
Yeah.
And he's going to be 4-1 down, and it will be Neil's break at 4-1 as well.
Yeah, and it will just put Neil into ultra relaxed mode. He's just gonna feel so good about him. So he's just gonna be so much less likely to chuck a nervy one in there or run out of position, underhit, overhit something. Just an absolute dream for Neil to come to the table. I mean, I see a little grimace there. He thinks he's run a bit too far. He'll be okay. I'm sure he can hold this. I mean, even if he couldn't, he could just reroute and it'll still be fine. Wants to get across. He wants to play this red into the bottom right next. That's why you saw a little bit of a grimace from Neil. And it's just about held it. Had to cheek the pocket a little, but it's nicely done. And that'll be 4-1.
Yeah, Neil's it's been an interesting season for Neil on the IPA Tour, because on the Premier League, because there's been a lot spoken about a lot of different players, but Neil's almost quietly and not being spoken about much made his way through to finals night, top of the table. We've had other players doing, different things. We talked about Simon in that last frame. We talked about Jimmy and the drama and the second half surge from Mark Boyle. But Neil, just steady as you like all the way through.
I think it just kind of sums up his career in general, really. Understated. All the top players know exactly how good he is and what a great player he is. But just quiet and goes about his business in the way that he does.
And I think we heard from Simon Ward before his semi-final, so let's hear from his opponent. I think Kevin Barton is with Mark Boyle now.
Mark, it was a bit of a sticky start to the Premier League field, but you've certainly come to the fore in the second half, and here you are in the semi-finals tonight. You must be absolutely delighted the way things have gone.
Yeah, over the moon to make finals night. Just time to get on and play Simon. It looks like it will be a good game, you know. So I know I've got to play really well, but that's it. Just play well and hope the breaks go for yourself.
The bookmakers couldn't really split you and Neil. You were both at the top in terms of being favourites for this title. Does that put extra pressure on you?
Not really. No, I put enough pressure on myself. I always put pressure on myself. Like just the way it goes, you know. It's all about what I do. Really, I don't care about what the bookmakers say. It's all about what I do. If I turn up, I'll win.
And the shot clock, do you think that's going to be a factor tonight at all?
No, I've got used to it now. Just run round the table.
Okay, well, good luck tonight, Mark.
Thanks, Kev. Thank you.
Interesting comments there from Mark Boyle. I like that in the middle of that. If I play well, I win. And I think that's
bit boisterous there.
yeah, very, very confident mood.
Yeah, good to see.
It is good to see.
But it's true. You've got to have that mentality. You've got to just. It doesn't matter who you play. Everybody at the top level is a very good player anyway. Just concentrate on playing well yourself, and if it's good enough, it's good enough.
I guess if you don't believe you're going to win if you play well, then something's wrong. It's just refreshing to hear it said, and I like to hear it said. And it was said in, without an air of arrogance. It was just a confident statement. I like it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Extension called.
Jimmy's kind of the way this match is seeming to go. You know, like you kind of feel like sometimes you get the run that you deserve. Jimmy's missed a couple of balls. Neil's played perfectly so far, barring a miscue from being, really awkward bridging, and the Neil does go dry off of his break and doesn't really leave Jimmy an easy clearance. They're certainly gettable, but this is a tough finish. And when Jimmy went dry last frame, he left droppings.
Yeah, do you think about that much as a player? Maybe not now when he's at the table, but let's say he doesn't make this finish, and he's long odds here because this is tough. In fact, he's missed an early one trying to create an angle to make something happen. When he goes to his chair now, do you think that's something that can come into your head?
Yeah, definitely. I think anyone that denies it is probably a liar. It's so hard not to let it, But I try and I've read a lot of stuff about sports psychology and stuff like that to try and I've looked at things like even gone as far as like concentration exercise, like counting sheep and stuff to yourself, whilst you're sat in your. And I think I've read a lot of stuff about what other people do, like in other cue sports, like Neil Robertson in snooker, for example. He sits there and he always watches the table because he feels like if he looks away from the table, starts looking around the room, he'll lose focus. So whereas others would probably maybe approach it quite the opposite, and they don't want to watch their opponent clear up.
But I guess you have to find a way of not letting those negative thoughts of saying, why do I get a harder chance than Neil got the previous frame to enter your head?
True. So then my thing for that is don't try and forget about it. That you can't hypnotise yourself to forget that you've just missed the ball. You can't erase from your memory the fact that the breaks tend to be going a lot better for your opponent than they are for yourself. You can't get away from that. So don't try to. Just put it to the back of your mind. Try and teach yourself to put it to the back of your mind, but don't. You can still know that it's happened. It's not a crime. So, but a lot easier said than done.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with in the game.
I think a game like this as well, where you've got so much thinking time whilst your opponent's at the table, while you are literally just sat there on your own in your chair. I think the psychological side of the game is probably doesn't get enough credit. The importance of it doesn't get enough credit as it deserves. See there from Jimmy. I don't know what he's.
I think he's gearing himself up for a skill shot.
Yeah.
I think Neil almost threw the gauntlet down with his previous shot choice of floating the yellow in. He was half hoping to pot it, I think, but knowing that he's got the table sewn up if he doesn't. But Jimmy looks like he's going to take this on.
Bold shot, brave. I like it. You need this, Jimmy.
Foul. One free shot.
He needed to hit that yellow, that yellow that he's hit there. He needed to hit it full ball. If you hit it half ball, 3/4 ball even, you're not going to make that shot. And make no mistake, that wasn't easy because it was off angle. There was distance between them. Threading through a gap as well, so maybe you're not quite. But in terms of visualising the shot, it's not quite as easy as it might be. Tough shot, but I like the fact that he went for it and he was bold and brave, and you've got to be that when you're 4-1 down. You've got to try and punch your way back into it. Neil's not going to sort of just hand it to you.
Yeah, absolutely, he's definitely not. You know, especially with the way that Neil played the previous safety shot. I think almost it would have been a statement finish had he made it. And I think you called it right. If he could have got right behind that on a straight shot, I think he makes it. I think just because of the way he got left on it, it was odds against.
Yeah, and we see Neil here. He's again come to the table, and it just seems fairly easy for him. He's used his free shot to just split the red and the yellow that were closest together. But now, I mean, again, he's just got a dot-to-dot finish. He just can't fail with these. He's going to go left middle, probably screw back for the yellow into the bottom left corner as we look at the table, and then it's just simply 3 drop-ins and a 4 drop. It's over. This frame is over.
You've heard it there. It's, Dan is already putting the score up. Stranger things have happened, but you know the way Neil's played so far tonight, it does look fairly likely he's going to go 5-1 ahead. Of course, Jimmy would need the final 5 frames to get back into this match or to win this match.
Yeah, he just looks so relaxed as well now, and that first frame, that finish that he made after Jimmy's kind of could have gone game but didn't, whilst he had control of his corner pocket that we see Neil just play that yellow into. It then followed that up with a breaking finish, and it's just set the tone for the match.
It's amazing how that, you know, he might analyse that shot on the way home. I don't think he'll think about the couple of misses he's had because they were awkward, trying to make things happen. But that shot choice at the start, possibly if he goes a bit more aggressive, this could be a different match.
Yeah, definitely. And aside from a horrendous kick, this is going to be 5-1 to Neil Raybone, and he has played faultlessly, really.
Yeah, other than a slightly one half bad break, he has played all but perfect up till now and does take that 5-1 lead, and it is looking very, very good for Neil Raybone at this stage. Yeah,
it's tough to see a way back for Jimmy in it, I think.
It is, because I think at 5-1 you need help from your opponent. Neil's going to give himself an opportunity somewhere along the line, and he looks like he's in too good a form to even think about not taking it.
I think he's too consistent, yeah. Look at Neil Raybone's recent tournament history. We've got a final, a win there in May this year, and I think for pretty much everybody, you've got to be fairly content with a win in a season, given what you're up against. But not overly great form since. A couple of quarterfinals recently at the IPA tour, but we've also, like you mentioned there, one of our 2 World Series events, which are professional ranking events.
7th frame,
we
Jimmy
did get to the semi-finals of that as well.
Trading 5 frames to 1.
Ironically, beating Mark Boyle, who we'll see after this, in the quarterfinals to qualify for the tournament in the Netherlands.
Yeah, the rankings are over a 2-year list, and he's made the black. He's changed his break and made the black. But just to finish off what I was saying, the rankings are a 2-year list, and he is up to inside the top 3. I think he's currently 3rd, and we've already said that a good chance to go to number 1. And you don't do that without playing consistently well for 2 years, and that's what he's done. And yeah, does have a tournament victory so far this year, and with power to add.
Just ultra consistent, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you at all surprised that Jimmy's changed his break and gone for the cut break?
I'm not surprised, no. I wouldn't have predicted it, because I think certainly last time where he left Neil at probably, like I say, the easiest, one of the easiest, if not the easiest finish Neil's probably had in this entire Premier League. But it was a good break from Jimmy. He hit them well. He got loads of balls travelling at that top end of the table, which is obviously the #1 sign of a good break. And that was the luck element of the break shot, which was why he didn't make a ball. And I don't know.
But if you hit the break that well every time, you've got to believe the odds will come out in your favour, and that's why I find, yes, it was dry, but it was a brilliant break. So I kind of thought, just replicate that, and if the pool gods aren't with you, then so be it. But that's all you're looking for, is to hit a break that well.
And as far as I know, I don't think he's cut break the entire tournament. So you've got yourself to the semi-finals playing so well. See his face there, just a kind of dejected
I don't think I've ever seen Jimmy Carney cut break before, let alone in the tournament. Don't recall ever seeing him do that.
And just look, I mean, one ball came up top end of the table, 3 or 4 crawled past the middle of the table. You know, you're not getting the same action on the balls. I
Extension called.
stick with your current break, I think.
Yeah, when you're breaking them that well, yeah, I wouldn't change if I had the break he had in the previous one, even though it was dry. I tend to have to go for the cut break because I don't really have much of a front ball power break, but that's Jimmy does, and he should stick with it if it's good, you know, even if he does have the odd dry one.
Yeah, interesting here because I personally would probably go reds, and I think you've got to play maybe one good positional shot on the. Because I don't think the red to the right of the one that he's taken now goes. Coming to it now. That's a great shot. It's a fantastic shot from Neil Raybone. Just to even think of it, and to have the bravery to then play that, it makes the pot more difficult because you're playing it fairly tight off the cushion. That's a great shot, and probably a little bit unlucky to leave himself hamper queuing, if anything. This is tough. If he gets this, it's match over. No, he's nowhere near.
He has missed it.
It's nowhere near, but again, look at what he's left Jimmy. Nothing.
Yeah, there's going to be a wry smile from Jimmy there.
He'd have known that, you know, it was to an extent a shot to nothing. He wasn't going to be leaving Jimmy anything easy, but still, it won't feel like that for Jimmy, will it? It won't feel like a calculated miss. It'll feel like he's missed, and look, what have I got to go at again?
Yeah, just going back to Neil's shot choice before, where he went for trying to develop that bad ball. You identified it straight away, said that's his bad ball, and it's great to. That's a really good lesson to be learned. He hasn't waited; he's gone straight after it, and it's great to see.
Yeah, as we see there, it's a great shot from Jimmy Carney. I mean, he didn't have much time to think of anything. He had to be creative, and to double that yellow up table and get the white down into this area. It's a great shot. Yeah. He's tied the red up as well.
Probably a shot of the match for Jimmy so far.
Yeah, and if you're Jimmy, you're thinking, right, okay, I've played a great shot to get myself back into this match. If I can nick this frame, I'm only one dry break away from being 5-4 down, and then it's anyone's match. You've got to think like that. You know, that Neil can go dry next, I can break and clear after that, and then we're at 5-4, and then Neil's feeling it.
Yeah, you can't play a frame of ball thinking I've got to win 5 frames on the trot. If you start thinking of that, you'll be nowhere. So he just has to think about the frame in hand, and then, as you say, then start thinking, right, I need a dry break, another chance. We've seen comebacks on the IPA Tour plenty of times. It won't be a shock to see someone come from 5-1 behind to win 6-5.
No, and Jimmy would have won 5 frames on the bounce many times against good players as well, because that's just the nature of the pool. So, but I think getting those first couple just to start the momentum, just this one, and then, you know, a dry break from Neil, or maybe an unlucky kicking off. You'll see his body language change, and we'll have a match on our hands.
Yeah, I said it when he went 5-1 down. I don't think you can come back from 5-1 down against Neil Raybone without some help, and that's unlikely with Neil. But if you're going to get some help, you've got to be putting the pressure on him to make that happen.
Of course, yeah. Look, Neil missed that ball. Very awkward queuing over there. He's missed the ball, but it's a great shot from Jimmy to put him in trouble in the first place after that. Oh, Jimmy, that's a disaster. Oh, I think he's got away with it, has he?
Oh, Jimmy. He's played this with a lot of side, trying to get the white back across onto the one he's nearest.
Yeah, and I understand why, because, you know, he was slightly off angle, and he's only just missed it. But I think he's forcing Neil now into a double, which, ironically, I think the ball he's about to... Oh, I don't know if he can double it actually from there. I think he can. I think this is his toughest ball. I don't think he could from the overhead. I thought he could maybe, but maybe I'm losing my eyes.
Yeah, it looked a little bit tight from the overhead, but it hasn't left Jimmy anything to go at. And Jimmy's going to have to look for a safety shot of his own.
Is he looking at? I don't think he's looking at playing the yellow off of the red to make the pot. I think he's just playing the yellow off to kind of go in front of the red. There we go. So nicely played. Those are probably easier than it looks to fluff those and hit them a bit too hard or a bit too soft.
Turtle snooker.
Yeah, the
Time running.
problem he's got though, this is a shot. I fully expect Neil to make this red over the centre pocket.
Yeah, you're not getting 2 shots out of it, so you're not getting a foul out of Neil for this shot, I'm afraid. Just not going to happen. And I think, yeah, probably minimum 50-50 to actually pot the red. And if he does, could be frame over, could be match over, but it's not. And Jimmy's in.
Jimmy just stopped in his tracks for a second because he thought if that white runs another 2 inches and he's on the top yellow, it is routine. It hasn't, so he needs to pull out a good positional shot from his first shot.
He's got to remind himself that 48 hours ago he was out of this tournament. Simon Ward was on a 98 out of 100 black, and he missed it, and he's actually back in the tournament. He's got to remind himself of that. He needs to loosen up, Jimmy, doesn't he?
He does.
It feels like he's a bit tense. He's a bit, you know, he's playing like the scoreline suggests he should be playing, or with that kind of tension, you know, of a man that's chasing.
Yeah, and looked like that might come out awkward for him, but because this yellow at the top goes, it's absolutely fine.
It's a good shot. Now, the only question, can he drop this in enough to hold for this yellow into the right middle? Because if he can't, he's got to either punch across at pace, and that's going to make this difficult. He's had to, and I think this has gone wrong. Oh, I think he's okay. Is he just? He didn't play it like that.
Oh, he's okay. He's had a touch of fortune there.
He didn't play it like that, but you need this bit of luck, didn't you? Like we said, he needs something to go his way to get him kick-started. And back across, and I don't expect him to miss this black in the middle. He could have been better on this, though, couldn't he?
Yeah, no, he really could. It's just the way the night's gone. You feel there's more pressure on this than there needs to be.
Oh, and he's rolling this. Don't flicking off the red and going off, Jimmy. Don't. Whatever you do, don't, Jimmy. No!
It's a frame.
Wow, you could see it. You called it, and that is a horrible way to lose a match. And in some ways, a horrible way to win a match. Neil won't worry about that. And it is Neil Raybone that goes into the final with a 6-1 victory. We'll have a look at the tail of the tape in that match, and you have to say it was a very, very solid performance from Neil.
Yeah, the first actual pot he missed was in that deciding frame, and that was awkward queuing over, you know, Chinese snooker. So, and aside from that, Neil has played really well, and it would have been tough for Jimmy even if Jimmy was at his best. But yeah, a couple of mistakes from Jimmy's cost him, because if Jimmy had played like he played in that first phase, you know, this match wouldn't have been 6-1. You'd have been 4-3 either way at the moment, and we still would have been going.
Yeah, but it is Neil Raybone that moves into the final. And we will find out who he will play when Simon Ward and Mark Boyle get underway after the break. Welcome back to the IPA Free Sports Premier League. We have just seen Neil Raybone win our first semi-final with a 6-1 victory over Jimmy Carney. A very, very solid performance and disastrous end for Jimmy Carney. Next up for us, it is Scotland's Mark Boyle versus Wales's Simon Ward. How are you seeing this one going, Dan?
Coin flip, to be honest. I think you can say that about a lot of these matches in the Premier League, but definitely a coin flip. Interesting there that Simon Ward's got the upper hand on recent head-to-heads, but I don't think that counts for an awful lot. Their World Championship match, which was live on Free Sports, went down to the wire, and I remember that because I think Mark Boyle missed the black. Missed his last or second last ball down the cushion in the deciding frame to get himself through to the second round. What a last 64 match that was.
Yeah, it's incredible they could have drawn each other, and I think that was the first ever game on Free Sports, which is was an absolute thriller. What a way for it to start.
Yeah, Simon managed to find a way through and ended up getting to the final.
Yeah, and you just touched on the head-to-heads there. In the Premier League, Simon beat Mark 5-3 in the first phase, and they drew 3-3 in the second phase. But the interesting thing about that is Simon was 3-0 down in both games, and he's come back to win one and draw the other. I'm not sure if that will that will factor into tonight, but it's definitely an interesting thought going into this match.
Yeah, I agree. There certainly won't be any fear there from Simon. I don't expect Mark to fear Simon either. But if anyone's got a slight psychological advantage, it probably is going to be Simon Ward.
Well, I look for the wry smile from either player if it does go 3-0 to Mark. It's the way it's panned out so far in this league.
I think both these players have got a reputation for being big match players. I think Mark Boyle has played a lot of sort of money matches or challenge matches where you put your backers and the big occasion, and Simon Ward the same. If ever there's a crowd around a match at a tournament and he's involved, you kind of expect him to play well and win. So I expect this to be a great match.
Well, both players, I think, have a very good record of when they get deep in a tournament of going on to win it.
Extension called.
They don't. When Simon Ward makes a semi-final, more often than not, he ends up winning. And I think Mark's much the same. So it really is. He's going to be a tough one to call.
Yeah, and a great break there first from Mark. I've seen him with first chance, and not an absolute certainty because I don't think this yellow at the very bottom centre of the table, I don't think it passes into the bottom left corner. If it does, this finish is very easy. If it doesn't, Mark's going to have one positional shot to play, which isn't going to be too difficult to get this first frame on the board. But if it does go into the bottom left-hand corner, I don't think he's going to have a whole pocket for it. So I think that's the only thing that can go wrong.
Yeah, I suspect it probably has got just about enough room. But the overhead, you can see it is tight.
I think it's tight, but not impossible. So, depending on what angle he gets, he might get a good enough angle to leave himself. He'll have a fairly big margin of error if he does decide to screw over to the other side of the table. I'd certainly back him to play that shot well enough for him to still finish from here. But if it goes bottom left, we'll see him play that, I suppose.
I think it must go just the way he's played that. I think if it didn't, he probably would have wanted to try and get the white closer to the side cushion to try and give himself more angle to get across.
Exactly that, yeah. So it tells me this does go. See, both players, interestingly, both right-handed and both cue under their dominant eye, which is actually inside of their chin. So their inner eye, I suppose, as you may call it. Not many people do that.
Yeah, you don't see that very often at all.
I think you see there, he's just queuing under his left eye, and Simon Ward does exactly the same. I think that the more textbook way of queuing is actually straight under your chin, so you're kind of using both eyes. But I'm the same. I've got a dominant eye, but I actually cue under the outer eye. It's a bit,
Even stranger.
yeah, it's just the stuff.
I can understand it if you're underneath the dominant eye, but then surely your weaker eye would, it can still, be slightly off-putting.
Well, but the weaker eye just kind of doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
To be honest, if I cue under the chin, under my chin, I literally can't see what I'm doing. So I know where they're coming from.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to see how each player plays things slightly differently.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hand over to Kev Barton. He's got a couple of words of our finalist. The first guy into the final, Neil Raybone. Great performance, and we're just going to hand over to Kev now.
Neil, you're in the final. You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, really happy to win the match. I don't think Jimmy played as well as he can do, but happy to get over the line.
And a sort of almost disappointing way to win in the end with Jimmy going in off, but you'll take it?
Yeah, I'll definitely take it. Yeah, I thought he was close to going in off, but obviously he's 5-1 down and he was struggling a little bit, and just wanted a bad night for Jimmy really.
There was a lot of sort of tension early on in that match, and we saw in that first frame, it was a bit nip and tuck, but after that frame you settled down into the match and did what you've done throughout the Premier League.
Yeah, it's just obviously when after the first break the balls went a bit scrappy, so it was a bit tactical, but when I had a good chance I made a good clearance first frame, which I think set the tone for the match really.
And just a word about Jimmy, a miraculous way to get into the semi-finals last Tuesday. Just didn't quite happen for him tonight, but it's been a great campaign from him.
Yeah, he's done brilliant. I said in my interview earlier, I think he's done brilliant because I think a lot of people wrote him off at the start of the Premier League, but he's had some fantastic results and some fantastic wins, and he's done brilliant. It's just not his night tonight really.
So you're in the final. What would it mean to you to become the first IPA Premier League winner?
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. I'm in for a tough match whoever I play, but it's nice to have the opportunity, and I'll give it my best shot.
Okay, well, good luck later on, Neil.
Thanks, Kev. Thank you.
And that is our first finalist. Neil Raybone will be in the final against the winner of this match a little bit later on tonight.
Yeah, and Simon's made a ball off the break as well. He's just flicked that red on the way through. He didn't have a full pocket, or he couldn't have had, because that looked like it was tracking, so needed to play that off the near jaw, and he's just missed it. And it kind of reminds me of that first match in a way, where I know it was the other way round and Jimmy made his slight error in the first frame, or you can argue, but off the back of a break and dish from Neil, back and dish from Mark. Mark's now in with a chance to go 2-0 as well. And
yeah, it was Simon's first touch of the table. It hasn't settled yet. So if it was, well, it was obviously very tight. And if you're going to make that sort of mistake, it can be early in a match before you settle.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see Mark definitely go yellows. It's going to be, he's got a much easier ball to dislodge the yellow and red together at the top of the table. There's a very obvious one next to it. I want to go into it as early as possible. Whether or not he'll do it this shot, I'm not too sure. I think he'll play the easier yellow first to give himself a good angle. May even top into it now. I think he's gearing up to. Big shot.
It's not come out ideally for him.
It's not ideal, but it's okay.
Yeah, he probably could take the one to the long pocket, the one that's in the middle of the table. That's pretty much his only option, really. Don't think he can cut the one back to that is nearest, or not quite nearest, but to the top right corner.
Yeah, I think.
Well, perhaps he can.
Well, it's thin. The main problem here, I fancy him to get the pot. It's just where the white's going afterwards.
Oh, it comes
to
out.
trust the luck a little, and it's come out nice.
It's come out. You couldn't have hoped for it to come out too much better than that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's far from frame over, far from it, but he'd have took that. He'd have took that from there, because he's going to take this one into the top right corner as we look at it. Come down table. So whether or not he wants to play the red, get onto the yellow, I think we might see him come down just below the right middle pocket if he can. So he's got the option of playing the. Yeah, you don't want to go on it. You don't want to be on it. But that's all right. That's all right. If he'd hit it full ball, it might have been a bit of an issue, but. Yeah, delicate one now.
It's still awkward though, isn't it? It's just not quite, and that black isn't. I'm not sure if the black's got a full pocket to the corner, so he may have to play on it into the middle.
And this is tight. This angle. It's a huge shot in the context of the match, because the difference between Neil. No, he's missed it. He's missed it. It wasn't really that close, to be honest, and
Yeah, it's one of those you want to float in and almost aim at the far jaw, and it goes across the pocket and falls in. So when you hit the near jaw like that, quite missed it. But yeah, as far as I could expect him to miss a shot like that from.
Could have left this easier though. There isn't really. It's not like he's left Simon an easy finish here. He's still got control of this bottom right-hand corner pocket as we look at it. I don't think Simon's played a great shot there.
Yeah, you could see him drop his shoulders, frustration with that shot. He obviously had a plan for how he was going to attack the couple of problem reds, but from where he is...
The red goes past the yellow, does it? Oh wow, great shot from Simon Ward.
That really
see an overhead would have been better to see, and we can see now I think the red does pass the yellow into the middle as we look at it as well. So there's a really good chance for Simon to take this second frame.
Yeah, so what looked a horrible table 2 shots ago, all of a sudden, it looks a great chance for Simon to go 1-1.
And in these short races, and a race to 6 is still a relatively short race, I think the difference between winning and losing the match, assuming that the luck kind of evens itself out running the ball, which it may or may not do, you're probably going to have 1 or 2 big shots to play in the context of the match. Whether it be at 1-0 down and Simon's just had to play quite a good cut there, slightly awkward queuing. That was a big shot in the context of the match. You may have to play another one. And Mark Boyle just played a big shot into that middle pocket when he had 2 yellows left and he missed it. So that could be the difference, I think, winning and losing.
Well, I often think when I'm watching 2 players of, at the very top of the game, it's about punishing mistakes. And Simon made a mistake with his first shot, and Mark wasn't able to punish it. Can Simon punish Mark's mistakes? Because once both these guys get into full flow, you're only going to see maybe 1 or 2 mistakes out of them in the match. So it's very, very important that you punish those mistakes.
Yeah, and again, this is probably going to be a big shot for Simon as well, because especially taking this up there, this is tough. Now, he had very little angle and queuing off the cushion. That's a great shot from Simon Ward. It's a great shot. Again, it's the big shot under pressure. It's not the most difficult shot you're ever going to play in your pool career, but it's a big shot, and he's played it well. As you see there, Simon queuing under his dominant eye, as we mentioned earlier. That will be a lovely nerve settler for Simon Ward.
It really will settle him down. After the early mistake in that frame, he does manage to counter clear after Mark made a mistake of his own, and he does go 1-1. So for the first time this year in the Premier League, Simon Ward doesn't lose the first 3 frames in the match to Mark Boyle. And,
mentioned before about them both being kind of big match players, and that's the he looks well happy, doesn't he, with himself? No, but he does that so well in the big matches. Bit of a crowd or a lot at stake. Those pressure shots with them, that clutch finish, your tricky last ball, or your tricky second last red. He nails them shots more than most.
Yeah, the big one there at the end, I think a lot of players would have just played that plain ball, stunned the white across the table and back and gone a bit more distance to the next ball. But Simon's still throwing that in with side. Tough pot to get perfect on the next ball.
He did, and if you were looking at somebody to back in this match, it's quite hard not to look there that Simon Ward is on a 10-match unbeaten run. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, and you can see there that his second phase started there on the 24th, and it's just a lot of draws to sort of get himself over the line.
But you've got big odds on any player to go on a 10-match unbeaten run in this format at the start of the tournament.
With the players that are in the event, absolutely.
But you see another break there from Mark, and these look pretty good as well, don't they?
Oh, look how well he catches this break. It really is incredible power. Look at the really power through the pack is incredible.
Mentioned about the cut break as well that Jimmy did towards the end of his match. Mark Boyle kind of, I'd say, made the cut break famous.
Yes, so when Mark, what you're talking about is when Mark Boyle joined the IPA tour, which was 2-3 seasons ago. He won a couple of open events, a couple of amateur events, got off to an absolute flyer. he was cut breaking all the time. You never saw him with his front ball break. Always went with the cut break, and it was just incredible the splits he was getting. The amount of balls he was making off the break was just, it was incredible. And actually, when I think back to how he was breaking then, it surprises me that he's ever gone away from it. But then you see how he's breaking tonight with this break, and this is massive as well.
Yeah, and we see, like all good players do, Mark's left himself an angle. He's going to play this with a trace of left-hand side and break out his bad ball. If he plays this at the right pace, it can't fail to go wrong. The pace was absolutely perfect, and this is looking good for Mark's second break and dish in a row. One thing here is whether he's going to screw right back and play these yellows in the middle, make the pot a little bit more difficult, or just punch out. Okay, he had a bit more angle. Had a bit more angle to punch out for this yellow left middle, and this frame's pretty much over as well, isn't it?
Yeah, when you see Mark breaking as big as this, you kind of puts more pressure on your side. You know, Simon's going to be under pressure. If Mark keeps breaking like this, he's going to be break dishing more often than not, and that's going to put so much pressure on Simon's side of the table.
Yeah, one thing I've just noticed actually, is the black is going to be a bit of an issue because it doesn't go into the obvious corner pocket or the obvious middle pocket. So Mark is going to have a positional shot to play, a tricky positional shot to play. So, you know, this frame's not over yet, but Mark at his very best, he still finishes these sort of 9 out of 10, doesn't he?
A good 9 out of 10. He's got a decent amount of margin of error to get onto that black. Yes, it doesn't go to the 2 obvious pockets, but it's out in the open enough that you'd be surprised if Mark doesn't give himself a very good look at it.
Yeah, look, he's just going to leave himself an angle. I mean, even if he was straight, it wouldn't be an absolute disaster, but leave himself an angle to stun across table. And depends how he feels. He may stun just below the black and play it into the right middle. He may stun just above it and play it into the right, bottom right corner pocket as we see it. He'll know better from being directly behind the shot.
Would have loved an extra inch on that, but he's still okay.
Yeah, he's used the whole pocket there, and I think if he'd have potted it clean, the white would have come further over to the left-hand side of the table, and this would have been unmissable. But this is a tester.
But in it flies. So 2 breaks, 2 breaking dishes for Mark Boyle, and he gets himself off to he's got himself to a 2-1 lead, and looks very, very sharp here.
Oh, Mr. Magic. See, they're just cleaning his glasses. He's recently switched to specs. Said he had a little bit of trouble. You know, the last couple of years he felt like the edges of the balls weren't as clear as what they used to be.
Is that from wearing contacts or just from not wearing glasses at all?
No. From not wearing glasses at all. I spoke to him about it, and he didn't wear glasses at all. So he didn't like contact lenses. Tried them, couldn't get on with them. And went to glasses, the big glasses, and he's had I think 3 or 4 months that he's been using them. The results have been, it's probably his best run of form he's had in his entire career.
Yeah, he's back to it's not that he was ever not at his very best, but he is back winning tournaments. And, the thing looking at these recent results that I like is that look at that second phase form. Started on the 24th of October, and he entered the second phase in 6th place with it all to do, and just got it done, and he got it done quickly. And he's been in very, very impressive form this second half.
Yeah, 5 wins out of 8, 4 of the last 6. 5 out of the last 7 and 4 out of the last 6 for Mark Boyle. We see Simon there with quite a fairly lucky break. I mean, he certainly didn't want the white tracking anywhere near towards that middle pocket in it, and it slammed into that jaw. And he's quite lucky there that this has come out, and he's at the table. But a big break nonetheless.
Well, with Simon, I mentioned this when Neil was breaking. Neil's trying to get that white to go right up and down the centre of the table. Simon is slightly different to a number of players. A little bit similar to Ben Davis, the current world champion in this regard. He is just launching back to extreme power, and whatever happens to the white happens to the white. and you do see Simon's white off the break go a lot looser than you will a lot of other players.
Yeah, but I can see why, because I think there's certainly an argument to be had for saying that, you know, going dry is often just as bad as going in off anyway. So, you know, just try and get a ball, and if that's more important. If you're going dry, you might as well go in off. Not literally, but it quite often you leave yourself absolute drop-ins anyway. They don't even need a free shot. So I agree. Go down the power route.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely the way he sees it.
I
Extreme
think
power over any control.
My motto always used to be, you know, if in doubt, just hit them even harder. I've sort of slightly changed that over I think a bit of an ignorant way of looking at it, but when you're constantly not making a ball off the break, it's hard to overanalyse really. I mean, all you're doing is just really getting down and giving them a good clout.
Yeah, but there's still skill in the shot.
Yeah, well, what I've kind of, you know, from actually trying to take it a bit more seriously and give the shot the respect it deserves, maybe even just from sort of commentating a bit more and analysing it a bit more, is you notice the players that break so well don't actually seem to be putting their body into it. They don't seem to be. Oh, we see that from Simon. He's played that with rakes aside, and he just had to come through the gap, and he's got too much side on the ball, and he's snookered now, and he's in deep trouble.
Yeah, looks so simple, but had to avoid those reds, and as you say, the side is just hurting there, and he'll be so disappointed because he knows he really should have made this finish. Make it even worse, he's fouled. In truth, the foul won't make too much of a difference. He was a big underdog the minute he didn't make the yellow.
Yeah, he was in trouble the moment he was snookered, and even if he didn't foul there, Mark was probably going to win this frame. But you're going back to the break shot. I think we probably see it with Mark does it very well. Is about timing. You know, it's all about timing. And when you analyse the players that seem to break the best consistently, if you had like a split screen of the table and the balls flying about everywhere, as well as them actually cueing the ball, you'll see some players lift. They kind of put their body into it, but a lot of the sort of so-called better breakers, or not so-called, they are the people that are most consistent at breaking. They don't actually do that. They just time it. And I think much like a golf swing, really. If you see some of the Ernie Els might be a good example. They call him the Big Easy. He seems to he times it so well that he gets big distance when it looks like he's hitting it fairly softly.
Yeah, it's all about timing, isn't it? Technique and timing, and I think the players, I see a lot of players and they launch back for extreme power and they lose that technique and timing, and they're all of a sudden they're mishitting the white, and the white's flying everywhere and they're getting no power through the pack anyway.
It seems such a weird thing to when you hit them so hard and you don't get a good connection, and then I don't know if you ever played killer in the pub, and you get the old-fashioned killer where if it's your break you get the break and the next shot. So the only thing you don't want to do wrong is pot the white.
Yeah.
So you get down and you just give them the gentlest of punches, and you think wow, they've actually split really well.
Because you've caught them perfectly.
Yeah,
you know, your timing's there.
Yeah, but as an example, on an extreme measure, because you're always hitting them flush, because you're in it so much softer, it kind of teaches you that lesson.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Mark Boyle, as expected, completed that counter clearance to move himself 3-1 ahead. And he's 3-1 up. Simon Ward has it all to do, and we will find out if he can come back after the break. Welcome back to the IPA Free Sports Premier League. We rejoin the second semi-final. Mark Boyle has a 3-1 lead over Simon Ward. It's a race to 6. The winner will join Neil Raybone in the final.
Talking to Neil Raybone, we can see him there just tucking into a burger behind, enjoying his little rest.
Well, I guess that, I mean, he plays the first semi-final. Do you think that gives him a slight advantage going into the final, just because he gets to relax, gets to have a burger, gets to enjoy himself?
I'd rather that. I'd rather be the guy that's in the final first and have that little bit of time to enjoy it and then get yourself prepared and ready for it and let these two fight it out. You never know what's going to happen in this match. This match could really take its toll on one of these players, on the guy that wins, depending on how they get over the line. And Neil had a fairly easy passage through, so.
Yeah, they wouldn't have long to get over it because they're straight back on again. But after 2 breaking dishes to start this match for Mark Boyle, he has gone in off this time, so he has gifted Simon an opportunity. He was a bit unlucky. The white was going a little bit close to the corner for comfort, but he was still unlucky to be kicked in off the way he was. Yeah,
a bit unlucky, and I think exactly what Simon would have needed and wanted, because we mentioned this earlier. Every ball goes. He doesn't have to play a cannon. He doesn't have to dislodge a bad ball. Every ball goes. It's just about taking them in the right order. No lapses of concentration, keeping that cue ball under control, and we should see this semi-final go to 3-2.
It's interesting that you say every ball goes. I think lesser players may have considered moving the black. The black's going to be, it must go. It can't have be hampered at all, because he would have looked to either move the red or the black. But it is down the rail. I think lesser players would have just thought, I'm going to try and develop that somehow. But Simon, being such a good player, he's just backing himself to get on it nicely, and if he does, he won't miss it.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see him do is take the he'll leave the red that's closest to his hip now, his leg, top right corner. He'll leave that yellow as his last ball, because it's just the simplest, it's the hardest way for anything to go wrong. So if he can go around the clearance that way, I think that's what he'll do.
He's going to be slightly annoyed with that previous shot. He's a bit off angle on all the yellows in the middle of the table there.
Yeah, what he'll have to have done is played the yellow into the right middle that he's just queuing right over now, and then play the one that he's just played, then the yellow into the middle, and just go down table for that other yellow. But this isn't his first choice.
Yeah, it's definitely a reroute, and he's got to move the white a lot more than he wanted to originally.
Yeah, and again, he's just about all right. Well, we had a bit of a grimace there. I think the overhead made that look a bit better than it is.
He's really going to have to get into this. He wants to keep the white up and down the centre of the table.
Yeah, awkward queuing, but it should be fine.
Oh, he's played that nicely.
Yeah, absolutely fine. But it was a lot more difficult than it needed to be. I think he's slightly hampered queuing now as well. So you do want to get as close to this as you possibly can. I mean, anywhere, you'd love to be just below the middle pocket, but you didn't want to be there. You didn't want to be there. This is This is tricky.
Yeah, and this is a lot harder than the black that he missed in the final round in the league stages.
Yeah, and we spoke about Simon being a big shot player. He's going to need to pull one out here, and he has missed that by a distance.
Yeah, he's cued straight across that one. He'll be very disappointed with that. He knows he should have made this finish.
Yeah, and if Mark can take these out, Neil may not have time to finish his burger.
It could happen that quickly.
You see him chomping away. I think he was getting a bit of a rush on there in the background.
Well, he may finish the burger, but he might not be able to get the dessert in.
No, I think he might have to leave a couple of chips. I think the red does pass that black into that bottom right corner as well, so these are actually fairly easy for Mark. There's no need to dislodge that. I think first look at the table, you think, oh, he's going to have to play a shot to get that red out. I think if he can get behind it, he can play it into the knuckle off that black. So these are fairly easy for Mark Boyle, and this is going to be 4-1.
Yeah, well, that camera angle shows it, and I think the fact that if he did need to move it, he would have played it first shot, and he hasn't. So no issues at all here.
You mentioned before a couple of times about Simon being 3-0 down in both his matches against Mark Boyle. Well, he's just about to go 3 frames behind again. Surely you can't come back 3 times on the bounce against some of the Mark Boyle's quality.
Well, I say it quite often in commentary when I am commentating on Simon Ward. He is blessed with as good a temperament as anyone in the game, and even though he's going to be 4-1 behind and having made a couple of mistakes, he's one of the players that you think can come back from that sort of scoreline.
Well, his nickname, as we see Mr. Magic clearing up here on Reds, his nickname is, Simon Ward's nickname is the Boomerang. And he's got that for very good reason. He has got a reputation for winning matches from being 3, 4, 5 frames behind more than any other player on the tour. He does it time and time and time again.
Well, I think that just highlights his temperament. I think that's why he can do that. Some players can go 3, 4 frames behind and lose their head a little bit. Simon does not do that. Doesn't matter whether it's him making mistakes or whether it's just his opponent playing well. He still believes and will just play the next visit as calmly as you like.
Yeah, and the perfect pace on that last shot for Mark Boyle. That was probably the last thing that could go wrong if he just overhit that or underhit that a little bit. He's absolutely perfect on his second last red to just drop it in with a natural angle to be. I mean, this is an unmissable red and an unmissable black, and it's 4-1 Mark Boyle.
And he does make no mistake with the unmissable black and the unmissable red, and he does move 4-1 ahead. And Simon will be tested on his nickname, and we will see if he can come back. Let's have a look at Mark Boyle's recent IPA highlights, and right at the top there is the British Open victory, beating Gareth Hibbert 7-5 in the final. He's also earlier on in the year had a professional victory in Scotland, beating Liam Dunster 8-4 in the final. So he's won. You said when looked at Neil's recent highlights, if you can win once a season, you're going to be very happy. He's already got two titles in the bag this year, with multiple titles last year, and obviously looking good here in the Premier League.
Yeah, and we see this year as well as his 2 titles. He's lost to Neil Raybone in May and the 3rd tour event of the season in a great final, and we could see a rematch of that in this final now. So to win 2 tournaments is great, but a semi-final and a final as well.
6 frames, 1 to break. Trailing 4 frames to 1.
Quite possibly
Time running.
the man to beat this season. I think we could well be looking, if it is a Mark Boyle Neil Raybone final, at the number 1 and 2 in the rankings come the start of next season.
Yeah, just the way it's a disaster for Simon Ward when you've just made a bad mistake in the previous frame. You need to forget about it and get on with the next frame and potting the white. It's pinballed in. He's a bit unlucky that way, but it wasn't his best break if he's honest with himself either.
No, you can see from how many balls are down the breaking half, where the balls are racked, the bottom half of the table. You can see from how many balls are down there. It wasn't a great break at all from Simon, and as a sort of nail in the coffin, he unluckily got kicked in off as well.
Extension called.
Just finish off that conversation about the rankings. Mark Boyle, people, those that know the IPA Tour and follow us, Mark Boyle's currently ranked, I think, 33, which is, for anyone that knows Paul, knows that's a very bizarre ranking. And that's just because he's a 1-year professional. Everyone else in the professional game has got 2 years worth of ranking points. Mark Boyle has 1, and he's 33rd. I think by the end of next year, he will have his full 2 years worth of ranking points, and he will be somewhere near the top. That is for certain.
Yeah, and that couldn't have gone any worse for Mark Boyle. I think we're still going to see him attempt to go reds, but because he's not on a ball yet, that was his free visit. We're going to see him probably play a 3-ball plant here, yellow onto red. Not actually as difficult as it might look. Good job, he's a slender lad. What an athlete. It's a great shot. Great shot.
Yeah, it could be forgiven to be a bit frustrated after his first shot. It's probably the worst shot he's played in the match, but he's recovered the situation, and all of a sudden now this looks another routine finish for him.
Yeah, again, it's all, look at that. He must do yoga.
Yeah, I'd like to see you try this one, Dan. I know I couldn't do it, that's for certain.
No comment. It's like a ninja, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know how people do that. It looks painful. It looks like you could do yourself an injury with that one.
I don't think I'd be able to get my leg back off the table if I got it up there.
Yeah, there could be assistance required. Time's running.
Ticking.
I think he played that with 1 second left. 1 second on the clock. He'd already used his extension.
Yeah, and but he is in perfect position. I think he's either going to stun this and leave himself angle, or he's going to top it through to leave himself a bit of angle.
I think that previous shot to me highlights how comfortable he's got with the shot clock. I think at the beginning of this Premier League, that 30-second shot clock it felt very quick for all the players, and you saw a lot of players when those beeps were happening. So those beeps start at the beginning, at 10 seconds. There's a beep for each of the last 10 seconds. I think you saw a lot of players rushing their shots when they heard the beeps. Mark was very confident and took his time, even though it went all the way down to 1 second. Yeah,
and I think that's might sound like I'm pointing out the obvious here, but when it's new, you will panic naturally. Oh, I've only got 10 seconds, I need to. But 10 seconds is a long time, and given that, like you rightly point out there, which people may not realise, it's 1 second per beep. So as soon as you hear that first beep, you can count down with it. You shouldn't really be panicking until you get to 7 or 8 beeps, as long as you're down on the shot. But the more you play it, obviously, the more you're going to get used to it. And Mark Boyle has taken to it like a duck to water. Never looks rushed, does he? Ever.
It just, to me, what we've seen so far in this match, it just highlights how good a control he's got of his cue ball. He's making, yes, some of these finishes are really good chances, but he's not even giving us a chance to build some drama. That he's just in perfect position the whole way through.
Yeah, indeed.
Have a look at Simon Ward's recent IPA highlights, and perhaps not the highlight, but the the World Championships. He lost in a final frame decider to Ben Davis back in February, and that was an absolutely incredible match. But he does have a victory on that list. He beat John McAllister in the Welsh Open. I think that was only about maybe a week and a half after that World Championship final defeat. So
2 weekends after, yeah.
2 weekends, yeah. No, it's a good comeback after that disappointment. Responded well.
When we see at the tail end of 2016 a win in the final of the final event of the season against Mark Farnsworth as well. So that kind of it probably has been Simon's. You could take that there, what Simon's done. That's kind of what he's done for the last 5, 6, 7 years. He's super consistent. Tends to pop up and win 1 or 2 tournaments a year. Always when he has kind of top 5 players, top 8 players. Although I did mention before that off camera that of these final 4 players, it's only actually it was only actually Neil Raybone that got in on the rankings. So this tournament, I think it was top 5 in the rankings, get in by right. 3 regional qualifiers, sort of Northern, Southern, Midlands, and 2 wild cards, and only Neil Raybone got in.
Yeah, Mark Boyle won the Scottish qualifier. Jimmy Carney won in Northampton, and Simon Ward actually had to rely on a wild card.
Yeah,
didn't manage to come through the qualifying, and but Simon was probably missed out by 1 or 2 places on the rankings. I'm not sure exactly where he was ranked when the cut-off was, but he would have been very, very close.
I think it was the difference between a quarter-final and a semi-final. It was so tight for sort of 5th, 6th, 7th place, and he was one of the unlucky ones. So I think given that he just got to the world final as well, I think he's proved to be a great addition to this tournament. But I think it's looked like this is going to be coming to an end, because Mark Boyle's in again here, and these reds have opened up really nicely. I can't see him messing up from here.
He looks to be in perfect control once again, and I'd love to be able to say there's some problems and some things he needs to work out, but in truth, he probably just needs to hold himself together.
I think his next shot really just needs to come up table, leave himself. He's going to play the red he's closest to. Come up table just below the black, and play the red into the right. Play the red into the bottom corner as we look at it. Now, I thought he was going to leave the 2 in the middle till last, because if he could play this red that he's closest to now, second last, leave a simple straight red into the opposite middle pocket, he'll leave himself a straight black into this bottom right corner. So might still see him do that. Whether or not he's going to reroute, because he might be slightly hampered queuing, and he is.
So do you think that means he leaves the one at the bottom of the table till last ball now? I think the way he's played that suggests it will be.
He's playing a cannon, so I think from the overhead that gives a better view actually. He can just play this plain ball and he's going to split the yellow and black. It can't fail for him. It's a great shot. Maybe could have hit it a little bit softer, but it just couldn't have gone wrong really. This is probably as bad as it could have gone. It's beautiful control. The touch when he's in full flow, those shots there, he makes them look so easy.
He does complete the job. That is a phenomenal performance from Mark Boyle, and he moves into the final of the IPA Free Sports Premier League, where he will play Neil Raybone. And you have to say, I mean, I don't think he made a mistake in the match. It was certainly, well, there it is. It's just that one missed pot.
It was the second frame. He missed a very tough pot into a tight, acute angle into the middle pocket. That was all he did wrong. And you see there from the stats there, 4 breaks, 3 dishes off the break. He's going to be tough to beat in that form. It's got to go in on the performances that we saw. Neil's played very good. Mark has played close to perfection.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how the final goes, and we will find out after the break. And welcome back to the IPA Free Sports Premier League. We have our finalists. Mark Boyle has just beaten Simon Ward 6-1, and Neil Raybone earlier on beat Jimmy Carney 6-1. So it will be Neil Raybone versus Mark Boyle in the final. And hopefully, I think we're just trying to go over to Kevin Barton, who should have Mark Boyle with him, to get his thoughts ahead of this final.
Great performance. That's the first hurdle over. Now Neil Raybone in the final. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's going to be another tough game because I knew playing Simon would be a tough game. I got the run of the balls there, which helped. But it's going to be the same in the final. I've got to play my best pool to win.
And you pretty much did that in the semi-final against Simon, almost to perfection, that our commentator Dan Davey said.
Yeah, I missed a ball in the second frame. I was a bit raging at that one, but no, I can't complain. Everything else went in, so long may it continue.
And you 1 match away from becoming the first ever IPA Premier League champion. What would that mean to you?
It would mean everything, because that's why we do the 600-mile journeys every week. But no, that's what we play for. You're in a competition with the 10 best players in it, so you want to prove yourself against the best players, and there's no better competition for that.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Mark, before the final. Good luck in the final.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, it really was a great performance from Mark Boyle to win that semi-final close to perfection. It's amazing how perfectionists do remember the mistake, that one missed pot, but other than that, it was a fantastic performance and really put Simon under pressure. And there is their recent head-to-head, Neil Raybone and Mark Boyle.
Yeah, quite interesting there. I mean, they've all been close matches apart from Neil's win in this tournament. But I think they've only played in one final. How crucial could that be? I mean, that was the most important match they've played, and Neil did come out on top on that one.
He did, and it was a deciding frame, but it was a deciding frame where Mark Boyle had a black to beat him. And he may not have had the full pocket, but it was a black that I think everyone in the arena was shocked to see him miss. I don't know if this goes close, whether that will be ever come into his head or whether he'll think about that, but it's definitely going to be interesting to find out.
Oh, I remember it all right, because he played close to perfection against me in the semi-finals, and I had to sit there and watch him miss in the decider, and I thought, well, any chance?
It's amazing how after, I don't think you should ever watch after you've lost a performance like that. Only bad things can happen.
He is, and this is a compliment, it doesn't sound like one, but he is like a robot. I think they've both got that robotic, and I mean that with the greatest of respect, because it is a compliment, that robotic, monotonous, just consistency. You just know when they're in the balls, and especially when they're sort of easy or tricky, you just know they're going to make the finish. You know you're not going to get stupid mistakes from them.
Well, we've seen it from both of them tonight, haven't you? They both had chances that they've made look so ridiculously easy that we've started talking about the break and everything else. Because we've almost written off the frame one pot into it. When they've got a routine finish, they don't make those mistakes where some other players could run into problems and have to come up with a big shot to recover it. These players don't do that.
Exactly right, and that's what makes them the very best.
And we look at Neil's recent results in this Premier League. To be honest, he's been ultra consistent throughout. I think he lost 3 matches overall, 1 in the second phase, but he went near the top pretty much all the way through, and never really in doubt. Almost quietly moved himself through this event. Was never really in danger of not qualifying for second phase or finals night.
Yeah, just did what he does best, and ultra consistent, and that's what a set of rankings will show. It's not going to show necessarily the most spectacular player, the quickest, the most flamboyant player. It just will show the most consistent players, and that's what rankings are. That's what league tables are for. And no surprise to see him in the final. I see Mark Boyle to break first. Now, if he breaks anything like he did in that last match and gets the splits he did, you've got to make him slight favourite, because you can't beat that, really, can you?
No, I would say. I mean, Neil played a brilliant first match. He really did. But if you're going on the form of the first matches, you do make Mark a slight favourite because he was all but perfection in that first match.
Yeah, I think he broke a bit better than Neil. And at this top level, that really is the difference between most matches, especially when you get to finals and things like that. Later stages of tournaments, it tends to just be whoever gets the balls off the break and gets the run of the balls. But what a great final this should be.
Well, he's made a ball off his first break, but his split isn't as good as it was the splits he was getting in the semi-finals.
No, and a tester first up. Oh, it's only just there. It's only just sneaked in off that left-hand jaw. Bit more pace, and that might have spat that one out.
Do you think he was trying to sneak the white through the gap and get on the red on the rail as well?
I think he was.
So,
Definitely was.
Because that's going to be a problem getting back to that area.
Because as you can see from how they've ended up, if he had potted that clean into the centre of the pocket, he would have flicked off the side of that yellow, and he would have been in perfect position. Interesting though, we've seen now. I think he's left Neil a chance here. And we're running out of time, and he's flicked off that red to play safe up into the top of the table, but he's actually kind of flicked it a little bit too close to the cushion, and he's left Neil a shot first up here. Yeah, and he's played it really well. He played it at that pace deliberately, so that if he did miss, he'd have had control of that corner pocket. But he's left Neil a chance here, and I think, well, Neil can play. He's looking here at breaking those two yellows out that are just above the black. I'm not so sure he has to. If the yellow to the left of the black goes into this bottom left-hand corner, which I'm not sure if it does, he could play that and then just leave a double on his second last ball, on his last yellow. But as it is, he's got a chance, and Mark was in first, and it's all going to be about how these come out after. You can see exactly where he's pointing. He's pointed there a few times. He wants to hit this yellow full. If he hits it full, it can't fail to come out well. We won't see him hit it too hard either. It'll be just a sort of a gentle cannon.
Yeah, these are the sort of shots that Neil is renowned for being so good at. He's not just going into the cluster trying to make things happen. He is trying to be very precise and just cannoning this out exactly as he plans.
Race to 7, by the way, in this final. It's an extended race. Oh, no, he's played that well. A little bit unlucky. I mean, you can't. I don't like calling it unlucky because ultimately he could have played it a little bit softer, I suppose, but
it's a touch unlucky. You can't say that's. It's not a bad shot. He's just on the nut. You know, he could hit that shot 10 times and probably get away with it and be on the next ball. So he is a bit unlucky. But I fully expected him to play that in a way that he wouldn't have risked doing that.
And now we see Mark Boyle is back in here, but one of his most difficult balls, if not his most difficult, is actually the ball he played safe. Played his safety off of when he gave Neil this chance in the first place. So we're going to see Mark take this into the corner. Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't a gimme. It wasn't a gimme, and he caught the cushion first.
Yeah, you could see clearly from that camera angle from the overhead, he caught the cushion quite a long way up. He almost stopped, thinking he was surprised it didn't fall. But when you see where that hits the cushion, I wasn't surprised to see it not go in at all.
Well, it shouldn't go in, really, should it? You know, when
no,
you hit the ball 2 or 3 inches up the cushion, it shouldn't go in. But because he played it at pocket weight, I kind of felt like it. It may have dropped, but bit of a nervy start for these two.
Yeah, that was tough though. That one from Neil, you can't expect the player to make too many of them. That was really tough. In a way, Mark was a little bit fortunate with the way where he finished with the white.
We're going to see Mark play the plant up table. No, he's taking it into the middle.
And I don't think Neil's yellow's covered enough of the pocket to stop Mark from being able to play a red in there. So pretty wide open table for him to get this first frame. But as you say, it's been a bit nervy on both sides.
Well, it's nothing like the way they finished their first matches. I mean, they've both played so well, and maybe it's just that pressure of the final, being the first ever Premier League champion. There's a lot at stake in terms of their sponsors and exposure, and how, you know, this is the first ever Premier League, and it is the best against the best. And, you know, the finals just do feel that little bit different to every other match that you play.
But
Use that to slow up.
Both players are very, you know, they've both been in their fair share of finals, so they've been there before. Maybe it's just something a little bit extra special with it being the first ever Premier League.
Well, yeah, very experienced. Both experienced tournament winners, consistent tournament winners for years. I mean, Mark's only turned professional for a year, but for a good 5, 6, 7 years before that, he was a consistent winner. And but this will be their first ever live TV final.
Yeah, I think that extra element perhaps will maybe take a frame or two for these guys to settle. I think once they get going, I think they'll just be into their stride. Be interesting to see if you know, that sort of pressure ramps up towards the end of the match.
It's nicely done. We'll see him just tuck this in just off the knuckle. You'll probably see the yellow come away slightly. But, a chance each for these two, and could be a huge first frame. I always think the first frame in a match is so vital, and I more realise it afterwards sometimes, when it seems to set the tone, but without you kind of realising just to what extent, because the amount of times where, maybe I'm just talking from my experience, but from watching others as well, where you start a match badly or you miss a chance in that first frame, and it seems to have a snowball effect.
Sets the tone for the whole match.
Yeah, you're chasing from the start, even though it's only 1-0.
I think I agree with you. I've definitely felt it in matches I've played in the past, but I think it's for Mark's side of it, you know, maybe that mistake he made isn't going to set the tone because he's won the frame. So now it's up to Neil to not allow it to happen. It's his break. He needs to make a ball and get himself going.
Mention about Mark and his glasses there. Since August, quarter-final, semi-final, quarter-final, and a win.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And I know he's won a couple of other sort of local bigger events as well in the meantime too. So his form in the last 3 to 4 months is probably up there. Probably makes him the man to beat in almost any tournament he plays in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's up there with probably with John McAllister and Jordan Shepherd as Player of the Year. You'd have thought, and I'm saying that even with Neil Raybone as pushing for the #1 ranking.
It is so. When you mention Jordan Shepherd and John McAllister, and then you realise that they're not in this tournament, it just goes to show the strength in depth and where the IPA is now, and where the professional setup is now compared to, say, sort of 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and they were both hurt a little bit by the timing of the qualification period. Both players would probably qualify now, either by by their ranking or via a wild card, just because of what they've achieved in the last 6 months. But it is, when you look at the players that aren't in the Premier League, you realise how high the standard is.
And you can mention more as well. You know, there's plenty of others you can mention.
Oh, absolutely.
At least a handful of other players that you can mention that are sort of consistent winners. You've got Clint Ianson, one of the best players on the tour.
Clint Ianson won 3 tournaments last year's IPA tour and was outside of the rankings for the qualification for this event.
Yeah,
I find that incredible.
and Jack Whelan, our world champion of was it 2016 or 15, I think.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, not in the tournament. Just what a player to not have in the tournament. How can you? It just goes to show the strength and depth. And there's tons more we could go on, but if we get back to the match here, it's a good break from Neil. He's got an obvious problem with the black, which doesn't go into the obvious middle pocket, but there's a yellow next to it.
But that yellow's awkward to get on as well.
Yeah,
which makes it. This back end of this finish is very tricky, and I actually feel for every reason you've just talked about in between frames, this is a huge frame for Neil Raybone because of the way that first frame went. He doesn't want that tone to be set with issues. He wants to make this finish, and then everything that happened in that first frame is completely forgotten by both players.
I just wonder if he'll leave that yellow closest to the black as a double, as his last ball, if it doubles, because it would give him position onto the black into the corner. It looks tight from there. It does look tight. I'm not sure it'd be impossible, but maybe he can. Okay.
So he's played on the yellow down to the corner pocket, and he's going to look to nudge the black open off this next shot.
Yeah, and it's not going to be difficult to nudge into this black off of this shot. But what you need is to leave yourself good cueing, because there's a good chance you might even see him screw it into the red. So go side cushion first, like just below this middle pocket, obviously, and then flick half ball off the red, and that's going to open that pocket up for the black.
Something like that. Great shot, Neil Raybone. Fantastic.
What a way to respond after that first frame.
It's a bit of a statement finish, this,
It's
after
a massive statement.
just letting Mark know he is in this match.
Letting Mark know that he doesn't care. He doesn't care that he had a chance to win that first frame and didn't get it.
Well, both players are into this match now. It is 1-1, and that was a fantastic response from Neil Raybone. We look at Neil's recent tournament history, and the final victory is what we were talking about that earlier. That one at the bottom there, English Open, beating Mark Boyle in a deciding frame, and a deciding frame that Mark did have a black to win in. But since then, perhaps not quite the deep run that he would have expected, but he's still picking up the points, and he is very much at the top of the rankings.
And also did lose to Mark Boyle in August this year, over a slightly longer race to 8 as well. But I think when you get to this top level, you're constantly playing the best, and you kind of just brush that off, really, to be honest. But if you look at the players that he's lost to there, every single one of those are a top player.
You don't see, I was going to say that you don't see Neil lose to players that you don't expect. You know, he beats the people you expect him to beat.
I think it's because he's, and we talk about this with consistency and being top of the rankings, when he's not at his very best, he's still very good. His B game is so good and so consistent and so difficult to beat. So, I mean, yeah, you've got your players that may look easier on the eye or may pull flamboyant shots out, but if you're talking about who's the best, you can only really look at rankings, and they show who's consistently good.
And that is a great break. Mark Boyle is back to the sort of breaks he was getting in the semi-finals. A fantastic big break. Makes a couple of balls.
Makes a couple of balls. He made 4. Was he made 3?
He has made. What has he made there?
made
2,
3
3. He's made 3 balls.
It's a huge split as well. But red is the obvious ball. Red is the easier opener. But I think yellows are easier.
Well, the argument against yellows is your opening pot and the yellow at the bottom end of the table. But there is plenty of room to get on that yellow.
I think if he was 5-1 up, he'd take this yellow into the top corner.
Mark would love to be able to get rid of that red that's on the left side as we look now on the bottom rail. He wants to get rid of that as soon as possible, perhaps leaving the hardest ball, which is the one on the right-hand side rail, for his last ball, because if you get straight on that, you can just drop it in and the black's there waiting for you.
Yeah, he can. It's just that, ironically, I think he's perfect on it now. He's perfect to get on it now, but that isn't his original plan. He wants to... he's played that to perfection. That was... You see the rakes and rakes of side that he put on that there to allow himself to get down table after it hits that cushion. It's quite hard to appreciate unless you play the game, just how delicate and how easy he's made that look.
Yeah, and it's one of the... I get asked quite a lot why there's dots on the white, and that's one of the main reasons, really. It's a visual for us people watching it. We get to see... You could really see that the red dots spinning round. You could see the extreme amount of right-hand side he played that previous shot with.
Now, I'm not sure if he's got the right angle here. He's straight down to it, so I think he must have. If he's too straight, and he's going near that middle pocket, that is perfect.
And that is a phenomenal. That's probably the best shot he's played tonight. He made that look a lot easier than it actually was.
Yeah, we mentioned it before about his touch. I think the last shot that he played to screw back, and he makes those shots look so easy, where you have to be so precise with how far you. Oh, he's missed that. He's missed that.
Massive surprise.
Boyle.
I am shocked. After the shot he's played before that, that's incredible.
I thought it was in. He was so perfect on it. I'm just talking about how good his touch is. But, I mean, it was far from a gimme, to be honest. We're probably doing it a disservice there. But that could be huge. Especially at 1-0, especially early doors in the match, and especially after what happened in that first frame, having both had a chance, and then Neil backing that up with the finish he pulled out in that second frame. Neil he must get these.
Well, I said it in the semi-finals. I think when you've got two players of such high quality, it's about punishing the mistakes they do make, because there will not be many.
That may be the last ball he misses in the entire match. We may go 7-6, and that may be the difference between him winning or losing.
Which makes it so important that you punish it, and that's perhaps maybe puts a little bit of pressure on that, isn't or shouldn't be there. But
well, there was a small argument there for Neil to, you see the yellow that's furthest up table, to have played that first with a bit of bottom right hand side, and got on this yellow that's the obvious pocket being the one that the red's blocking, and get on that straight away. So, yeah, has to get on these. He's played that to perfection, because he always had options. If he overhit it, he had options. If he underhit it, he had options. He's perfect on it.
Yeah, it's incredibly precise shot he's just played there. Like you say, he had options, but this is exactly where he wanted to be.
But that's Neil Raybone all over. He's such a precise player. Yeah, he's so precise with his cue ball, with his white ball. That's why he kind of never seems to be digging himself out of trouble or pulling out spectacular shots, because he's got that white under such good control. He doesn't need to.
Slight grimace from Neil this time, perhaps a little bit of a commentator's curse, but no, he looks okay.
He's all right. He's just doing it for the crowd.
Yeah, he looks straighter on this than he actually is. He's got a little bit of angle on this. Straight would be fine. You just drop it in. I think he's just may have to use the cushion, or just a delicate screw shot.
Screw up and down the table, maybe, but
no, he could hold it.
He stayed down on it. It did go in off the left jaw as we look at it, but he's fine. What a steal! What a steal as well after that big break from Mark Farnsworth. After that big break from Mark Boyle, did all the hard work, and not an easy red down the cushion, but one you'd expect him to get 8 or 9 out of 10 at least.
Yeah, you never expect Mark to miss a shot like that, but it was a tough pot. It was a missable shot, but he will be absolutely disgusted with that. And Neil did what he had to do, and actually made that counter finish look a lot easier than it really was. And he does go 2 and ahead. So now he's 2 and ahead, but it's his break, and this is where you really. It's not just about punishing the frame you're in. If he can make a ball here, he can double the punishment.
Yeah, and he did this early doors against Jimmy Carney, didn't he? He stole a frame from Jimmy, and then cemented that with a breaking dish afterwards, and it kind of stamped his authority on the match, and he just went on from there and went from strength to strength. And there's a good chance that he'd be thinking about that while he's in his chair now, and thinking, right, I did this before, I've just punished him, I need to break and finish again.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost will make you feel like your mistake has cost you 2 frames. In truth, it hasn't, but it feels like that.
It does, but you can't help but sit there and think, if you're 3-1 down, having made a mistake at 1 each, thinking this should be 2 each, you just can't help it.
Probably not Neil's best break he's ever hit. Probably hit them still well enough to deserve a ball, but he has come up dry.
We mentioned earlier about people that tend to put their body into the break, and Neil's break isn't really a weakness of his, but I don't think you'd single him out as being one of the very best when it comes to breaking. And he does kind of chuck his body into it a bit, doesn't he?
you don't hear people talking and raving about his break, but then you also never hear anyone saying, "Oh, Neil's break's a bit of a weakness." It's one of those that's just it's a bit like Neil all the way through. It's everything's so solid that it never really gets talked about.
He's got a good break, hasn't he? He's just yeah, probably doing a bit of disservice there, but he's just not one of the very best.
But he's hit breaks tonight he's hit breaks tonight better than the break he's just hit. But the break he just hit, it's not like he hit it that badly that you're shocked he didn't make a ball. You know, he still really hit them well enough to deserve one. Just unfortunately didn't make one. But another miss from Mark Boyle.
Wow. Wow. You just don't see this from Mark, do you?
Well, you saw in the semi-final he made one mistake in the whole match, and that was a very tough pot. And this time the previous one was a tough pot, but one you expected him to make this time. I never thought he'd miss that one.
Extension call.
It wasn't a dolly by any stretch, but it's one you never associate with Mark Boyle missing.
No, and again, just becomes even more important that Neil punishes, because, like we said before, that could be the last time Mark misses in this entire match. So you need to punish, and these aren't gimmies. These aren't easy for Neil. Take a bit of working out, but certainly playing well enough to be able to finish these from there. Needs to get away from that yellow. I think he's just flicked it. That's perfect.
Yeah, he's okay. You can actually kind of almost, one shot in, you can kind of see the route he's looking at. Take this one at the bottom, go up top, and then work your way back down. Perhaps the red on the rail to get onto the black.
Maybe we might see him play for a kind of a choice of shots here. If he can play this through with a bit of, maybe, it depends how he sees it. Oh, and he's chucked one in as well.
I'm really surprised that he's tried to move the red off the cushion. I think that's
I think the time got to him there. I think the shot clock got to him a little bit.
I'm not sure he was maybe fully decided what he was trying to do on that shot. So maybe you're right. Maybe the shot clock has got in the way, but
yeah, he just kind of gave the pot no respect whatsoever because it was an easy pot. Just worried about where the white was going afterwards and took his eye off the pot. And Mark's back in.
It wasn't the best angle he had, but I thought the reason I was saying he'd pot the one at the bottom and then go back up top because he had one over the pocket, and I thought he'd just pot the one at the bottom and make sure he could see the one over the top right. He's gone for something a bit more expansive and come unstuck.
And that's another bad shot from Mark there. He wasn't trying to pot the ball, the yellow didn't go, but he was playing it cushion first off the red, and he's hit it too thin, so it's actually missed the red on the way through, off the knuckle, and just came back, and everything goes for Neil, apart from this red into that bottom left-hand corner pocket.
Yeah, and it's an awkward one.
Yeah, and for that reason, we've just seen Neil kind of shut up shop there. Wanted to get that pocket fully covered, and he hasn't.
He hasn't left Mark an easy pot, I don't think. I think he's only got a cut into the centre pocket, and you see him running. He's used his extension, so he doesn't have much time here. I think he's just trying to see if the yellow he's closest to goes into the corner, because it makes the positional side of the shot a lot easier. That's a great shot.
We've seen a full range of Mark's athleticism tonight. We've seen the yoga, the flexibility, and we've also seen the speed.
Yeah, there's a few players, mentioning no names, that wouldn't have chosen to walk around and view that from the back with a 30-second shot clock. That is for certain.
Oh, we're just in the cameras wobbling. But yeah, Mark conscious of the shot clock, dashed round to see what his angle was and to make sure that he could do what he wanted to do. Got back round and played it in good time.
Yeah, so that previous shot from Neil where he didn't quite take the pocket with the safety shot, he's going to be annoyed with now, because it allows Mark to play this yellow at the top. If he had taken the pocket, he would have been able to do nothing with this yellow. In fact, even more so, it made it a big pocket for him.
I think that may have... Oh, I don't know, this is tight. Can he get to the potting angle of this? Because if he can, this is a really good chance to win the frame.
I think he can.
Yeah, from the way he's looking now, he wouldn't be looking at this if it didn't go. He got down and he covered this pocket.
Well, if that's the case, then he's had a little touch there, because he didn't mean to cannon into that yellow. And for it to land absolutely perfect.
And that is the perfect angle. And unless you play this game, you won't really understand just how important that shot was there to leave himself the right angle. Again, we mentioned it with his touch, how good is, there's one thing missing, or potting a ball, but keeping that white under control is the difference between having an easy next shot and sometimes no shot at all.
So after a couple of good positional shots and a touch of fortune, Mark Boyle managed to punish a missed pot and a missed safety shot from Neil Raybone. Ties the scores up at 2-2. I think I'm a little bit surprised, as I expect you are as well, the number of missed pots and mistakes we've seen so far in the first 4 frames. I mean, obviously there's always going to be tension in a final, but because of the way that both guys played in their semi-finals.
Yeah, not what you expect, but that's just Paul all over. You know, one match they're absolute perfection, the next match they chuck a couple in. You know, and that's just the way the game is. But be interesting to see how this match unfolds.
Yeah, and we will find out after the break. Now, welcome back to the IPA Free Sports Premier League. We are in the final. Neil Raybone, Mark Boyle. It is 2-2 in a race to 7. Mark Boyle to break.
It's a good break. He's made a ball again.
Just not quite getting the splits he was getting in the semi-finals. Just that fraction more work is perhaps maybe leading to the mistakes that we're seeing so far in this final.
Maybe, yeah. I think obviously he's just got the luck element as well, but I don't think he's absolutely hammered those like he has in the past. Past few breaks today that we've seen, but he's in first, and I think if you offer that to anybody, they take it every time. As long as you're in first and you get that first chance, you're kind of happy.
Yeah, so what's he going to be looking at here? Is he going to have to take the yellows?
Well, they can either go yellows and go into this this little area at the bottom. He's got a couple of options, so he can go into it now, which I think he's going to. Okay, so he thinks he doesn't need to. So that must mean that this yellow passes into this bottom corner. If it does, it's very tight. He can certainly play it cushion first and flick it off the yellow. It's a big pocket because of that other yellow.
He'd rather not move that yellow, though. He'd rather leave it where it is, although he may have to play it with a bit of pace to get the white out.
Well, there's also the yellow next to it. I mean, that doesn't go, so unless he's playing it with...
There's a bit more room there than it looked.
Yeah, than it looked, yeah. But he's got the angle now, and you can see exactly what he's lining up. So he's going to play this yellow into the bottom right and stun into the red and yellow that are together. He just needs to hit this minimum full ball, if not slightly above on that red. There we go, that's perfect. Because if it hit slightly below, there was a small chance that he could have hit himself behind that red.
I think he may have done anyway.
I don't think. Oh, I thought that yellow went into that middle pocket.
And if that
does it go into the corner?
Wow. Yeah, if the middle yellow doesn't go past the back to the middle pocket, then he's got a slight issue here.
Well, he's playing it, so it must go into the middle or the corner. I think it goes into the corner.
That's a great shot.
That's a great shot, nicely done. And you see as well, he's got the perfect angle now to just come up this left-hand side of the table and play onto this red, this yellow that's at the top of the table, the middle of the cushion into this top right pocket, and it's going to be looking good to go 3-2 up here in this final. Let's just come up table. Needs a bit more pace on it than that.
Yeah,
I thought he could have just slid behind the red and come up table with rakes of right hand side, spun it up table.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of it. He's going to have to play this quite slowly, maybe a bit of a drag shot.
Yeah, I mean, he still should be all right. I think he'll be fine. Yeah, he's all right. He's not in perfect position, but, well, he is, to be fair, for somebody of Mark Boyle's quality.
But you could see any more angle on that, and the white was really going to get away from him because he could not hit that any softer.
Yeah, just stay away from the middle pocket. As you come up table, he's played that beautifully. You can see, and we mentioned it again about the touch, just those delicate little shots where he has to play with the tracer side, has to bring the ball up table. That's, you know, when it's all about the speed, he has got that white ball on a string.
Yeah, and another break and dish from Mark Boyle. He's made a number of them tonight, and he moves himself back ahead at 3-2.
Well, on the night, that is his 4th break and dish out of 7 frames. And if you're getting over 50% on, well,
that's that wins tournaments. That's an incredible
yeah,
ratio.
You're tough to beat. You're tough to beat.
Have a look at Mark Boyle's highlights on the IPA tour. This is over the last 2-3 seasons. So, even though he's only been on the tour for 2 seasons. But you can see, look at the number of finals and wins that he has there. It really is incredible.
Yeah, his conversion rate, finals to wins, is just is right up there, because needless to say, in a final, you're always going to be up against somebody that's in form. So
he certainly, when he joined the IPA tour, beginning of 2017, he joined with a bang. He won the first 2 open events he played in, and he won 1 of the amateur events and lost in the final the other amateur event he played in. And it was quite incredible to play in to win 3 of your first 4 tournaments and be runner-up in the other one.
It's ridiculous.
It really is.
Yeah, because it, in theory, it's all gone downhill from there, hasn't it? Because he's just popped up with a couple of events per year, you know.
Well, somebody said to me, I think it was after Tour 4 this year, so where I can't remember, my memory's terrible, but they were saying, what's happened to Mark Boyle? And I'm like, what do you mean what's happened to Mark Boyle? He's have you seen how many events he's won?
He can't literally win everything.
What, you mean he's gone 2 tours without winning an event? That's
He hasn't been in a semi-final for 3 tournaments.
Section calls.
All right, okay.
But,
Crisis, is it?
But you know, tongue in cheek, you know, that's because of how much he was winning at the beginning of his IPA career. Incredible.
And we see there a dry break from Neil, and I think we saw this in a little bit with the Jimmy Carney and Neil and Neil Raybone first match, where when it starts going for you, you kind of seem to get the splits, you know, and Mark Boyle couldn't really have asked for a much easier finish here after Neil's dry break.
Yeah, and Neil broke dry because he mishit them. It was a bad break from Neil, and normally when you break badly, you get bad splits, but that's not the case here. He's come up dry and left a very, very good open table for Mark.
Yeah, it's just the only thing that could potentially go wrong. I don't know if the black and the red right next to it, whether they're covering each other slightly. I don't even think they are. I think the red still goes. Whether he's got a full ball, I'm not quite sure. I think this red still goes into the bottom left corner as we look at it. So really simple finish here for Mark to take a 4-2 lead in this final. Okay, so preferred to play the cannon because he could. I think the other red did probably go, but it's now even easier for him. And I think that's a sign of confidence because he didn't have to play that cannon. Now, you may say that's a lack of confidence. I don't think it is because he's so confident in his touch that he knew he backed himself to play that at the absolute perfect pace, so that you're not putting that black too far towards the other red. You know, you can see there it's perfectly in the middle of the both of them, and he's just made it so much easier for himself.
Absolutely, you could see other players playing that shot, and that black, it was very easy to nudge that black on top of the other red so that it became a problem ball. It's the pace he played it at. Yes, it looks simple, but he's made it look simple.
Yeah, and even the shot after that, playing that black at the easy red at distance. But the only difficult thing about that was the weight of the shot, and he just played it to perfection.
I don't think this one's gone well, though.
Oh, is he just on it? See, he could have just topped it through and played the red into the right middle. But it would have left a slightly more difficult positional shot on the black, and I think he's just all right.
That was absolutely fine. It looked a little bit trickier than it actually was.
Wow, that could be the fine margin there between going 4-2 up and probably 3 each there. And there's a little bit of luck there, I think, from Mark. It wasn't perfectly judged, was it?
Yeah, for once it wasn't perfectly judged, but it came out okay. And he does complete the reverse dish. And so that's a break condition, a reverse dish since the break. And that was all after a mistake in the previous frame from Neil Raybone when it looked like he was going to go 3-1 ahead. In a flash, he is 4-2 behind and under the pressure.
Yeah, and all Neil's done is just one bad break. Finds himself 4-2 down. That's why that frame when it was 2-1 to Neil was so important when he had that chance to go 3-1 up.
We have a look at Neil's recent highlights over the last 2 or 3 years, and he's got the English Open victory.
Now
he's got the victory in Morocco.
Now we talked there about only losing to the very best.
7th frame, Mark Boyle.
You will not see a stronger lineup of players that he's lost to there. He's won a couple of those in finals, but that kind of just goes to show what it takes to beat Neil Raybone. He doesn't lose to anybody but the very, very best.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Not the best break from Mark, though.
I've had personal experience. I think I've played Neil 4 times this year and never got close, so sums him up. Now, if Neil's going to get back into this match, it needs to start here.
Yeah, I think we'll see him go yellows. He's not got much choice, given the way the table is. The way the layout is, I think yellows are... You don't necessarily need to play a cannon, but they are a bit tricky. Need a little bit of working out. You may play the yellow closest to the right middle first and come down table. He's screwing into it, he's digging in.
Oh, he needs that white to stop. Just about.
I think that is perfect. That is perfect. That's a great shot from Neil Raybone. I think one of the most impressive things about that shot is the fact that he's thought to do it in the first place. A lot of people would have just made sure of that yellow in the middle, maybe run down, played a cannon onto the red just below the other yellow, or just above the black as we look at it. But it's the vision to see this shot. And now look at the frame. I mean, they're all there now.
He's been a touch unfortunate. That yellow's gone so close to the cushion, but it really won't be a problem if he gets behind it.
No, and he may even see that as his second last yellow. So if he could screw up table now, he may see him screw up just to the right of the... You see the red that's to the right of the white ball now. He's going to screw up behind that, I think. No, he's not.
He wants to be on that, though, and I think he's okay.
It's just the wrong angle. I thought I might have seen him just screw straight up table and use the red directly below the middle pocket as a guide. But would have been fine. It's just that he's the wrong angle now. But going the other way, your worst case scenario was you bumped into the red and you'd have still had the right angle, the correct angle to go up table. But
He may be playing this off the red now.
he is indeed. Oh, it's just about made it as well. Great shot from Neil.
He may have to slightly reroute, because I think you're right. I think his plan would have been to take the one at the very top next, but may opt for a slightly change and leave that for his last ball now.
Yeah, I think, in fact, from this angle, that yellow into that left middle looks so tough. You may even double it, but depends how he sees it. I think these camera angles can be confusing, because from the overhead, that looks like a fairly easy drop into the middle. From there, that looks tight.
Yeah, and he is very, very good at doubling, but I think he'll play on this one, if not take it now. He has gone for the double, but I think he's underhit this.
I think he has, but given these cloths, these new cloths, which we're seeing sort of take over the country, I think you can straighten these up. So if you hit it at pace, it will straighten up. Just about that clip, that knuckle, but it's there.
Yeah, Pacey played that with a little bit of stun. Just straightens the pot up enough.
Yeah, any softer and he hits that jaw. It's a great shot from Neil.
It was a tricky one, because if you really screw that, then you make that a lot easier, but he couldn't because of where the black is.
That's right, and a fairly simple black for Neil Raybone to cut this deficit to one frame.
Well, we saw some edgy pull before the break. We saw some mistakes on both sides of the table. Since the break, we have seen 3 finishes from the break.
They are motoring.
They are now absolutely up and running and showing why they are in the IPA Free Sports Premier League final. In fact, there are the stats that back up exactly what we're talking about. A break and dish each, a reverse dish each. And those 5 missed pots between them were in the early frames. Since the break, it has been all finishes from the break, and they're absolutely flying.
Yeah, perfection since the break. 3 breaks, 3 clearances. And this match really starting to heat up now, and it's exactly what you expect from these two. Exactly what you expect from a final, I suppose, but it just doesn't always live up to it, doesn't it? Sometimes they are a bit of a damp squid, sometimes they are a bit of a, nervy affair, but they've started nervy and they've just sort of kicked on now. And this, as we get ever closer to this race to 7 frames to win it, at the halfway point, every break becomes that much more important. It's a good break from Neil.
That's his
it's a great
best
break from
in the match.
Almost got sort of shimmied into that bottom left corner as he looked at it on the way back down, but he's in first. I don't think he's got a great split or an easy finish, but you can't be spoilt, can you? Just as long as you get a ball, you should really be happy.
Yeah, I think he will be happy. Yeah, he would love to have that yellow, the last ball, more moving to go an extra inch so it doesn't block the red and the yellow. But he'll be happy that he gets to play the next shot, and that break is what he's trying to do. That white straight up and down the centre of the table. Big explosion of the pack, a lot of balls moving in and out of the top half of the table. That was as good a break as he's hit tonight.
But I think this is as tricky a finish as we've seen all night as well, because the black where it's positioned, I don't think that goes into the middle pocket. If it does, it's really tight, and you can't obviously leave yourself a double because there's going to be that red in the way that we see there.
Well, we did see Neil play his ball off a ball near the middle pocket in the previous frame. Do you think he could do the same thing off the black this time?
Well, I would say he could do it now, but I think he may put this into the middle. I think his better option may be to do it off the next yellow into the middle. He hasn't bothered. He's chosen to get on his most difficult yellow next, which is probably a good thing for him.
He may have moved the red far enough up the table, the one that was blocking the double, to the black may now double quite nicely for him.
Maybe. He may be able to double it into sort of 3/4 of a pocket or half a pocket, yeah. I think when you've got a ball off the break, you have, like you say, you just got to be grateful sometimes. And if they're more difficult, so be it. But
well, you look at the overhead, it looks like that red is still in the way if he does decide to go for the double.
I actually think that if he gets right behind it, I think that will drop into that middle pocket. It'll be missable, but he'll know better than us. It's quite difficult from these camera angles. He may have identified that from the start and thought, well, I'll just leave myself a shot.
Well, the yellow he's nearest to must go to the top left, because he wouldn't play a positional shot that poorly.
No, it must do. And he'd like not to be straight so that he could just stun over towards the very centre of the table. He must be okay. Yeah, the bleepers go there. Oh, hasn't come quite far enough. You see there, he's just looking, so he is going to play this into the middle. He's just double checking his angle. Bit late now if it doesn't go, Neil.
Yeah, of course. And he can get behind this a couple of different ways. Just needs to make the pot.
Yeah, just wants to be as close as possible. When they're this tight, oh, he's missed it, and we see Mark reaching for his towel straight away.
That was one of those finishes you could just feel the whole way through that it was just sort of sliding away from Neil. He never quite got perfect control of that white.
It got more and more difficult with every shot, didn't it?
And now we'll see Mark with that problem with the black. Now, we may not even see him go for a finish here.
No, I think we've just seen where he's pointed his cue, and he's going to be playing a safety here. Just needs to be careful not to... Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't want to put that red safe out in the open.
He may not have quite got the total snooker.
Might be a good thing.
But I was going to say, it may not be the worst thing for that.
Time out.
Yeah, we see the referee taking a timeout while he just checks if it is a total snooker. It's a great camera
Total
angle.
snooker, time ready.
It has been called total. So that means that when Neil does hit this yellow, or if he hits this yellow out the snooker, he doesn't have to hit a cushion after contact. That's close.
It's a very good shot from Neil.
Love it to stay down there to block this red from going into that bottom left corner, but even if it does, the red that's below the left middle is an easy target to be able to either break into it or even play the red off of the yellow to open that pocket up. He's got multiple options. He could even go into it now if this red into the right middle. So
Extension called.
Here the beeps going in the background. Mark still had his extension to use, so he's going to use that so the beeps don't put him off. I think he's just stopped because he reheard the beeps, but I'm sure all is well now.
see Neil's dad there just behind him, chatting to the chairman, Kev Barton.
Yeah,
How much does my son get if he wins this?
Yeah.
Where's he going to take me for lunch?
Yeah, Neil's a fairly local.
Yeah, literally sort of 10 miles down the road, I think. He's got a bit of stick from the other players, hasn't he, for
Yeah.
for your everybody else that's doing, as Mark Boyle said, there 600-mile round trips, and Neil's close enough to be able to walk it.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit harsh, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
it's unfortunately the way it pans out sometimes, and I'm sure other players will get that benefit in future events.
See Mark there with the more trendy specs, the new style Dennis Taylors.
They are the new Dennis Taylors,
They
aren't
are
they?
the new Dennis Taylors, yeah. Out with the old, out with the Taylors, in with the Boyles. I think we're probably going to see Mark play the black into the middle, the tight cut as opposed to the double. From the way he's sort of queued up here, we'll know. He's just coming around to have a look at it now, yeah. So he thinks that goes as well. It's definitely tough. It's very tight, but
We've already seen Mark miss a ball. It wasn't the black, but miss a ball like that into the centre pocket today in this final. So there's potentially some mileage in this frame. Yeah, he wants to get right behind this. Anything other than right behind it, and it will be very missable.
regarding his glasses, he mentioned about obviously they're not having a visible sort of thick rim to the top of the glasses, because I think he looked at that and it kind of just felt like it put him off a little bit.
Yeah, they are rimless, aren't they?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. The times have changed.
Yeah. Still got the extra height that you need with the Dennis Taylor look, but maybe in a more fashionable way.
We're still going to see him take this into the middle. We are. Oh, that was not there then for a sec.
Played that very, very well. That was a very tough black. And in it drops, and he moves himself a couple of frames clear again.
5-3 Mark Boyle.
And that's another one that Neil's going to be frustrated with. He had first opportunity in that frame and didn't manage to take it. It's this match of this such a high level often comes down to who makes the mistakes rather than who plays the best, and Neil's probably playing a couple more than Mark, which is why he's 5-3 behind.
Yeah, and we see him just shaking his head to himself there. I mean, you know, whilst he sat down, and I think it's interesting to see him do that, really. Others do just kind of sit there more, you know, he hasn't really got much of a poker face, has he, Neil? If he feels like he's a bit, he kind of lets it show, doesn't he?
He does. He's still got a great temperament, but he will, you know what he's thinking.
I think that's exactly what you say. He's still got a great temperament. Even though he shows his emotion and like, oh, you know, a little grimace if he runs out of position, he doesn't let it affect his next shot. He doesn't let it affect his next frame. So, you know, you can still have a great temperament and show your emotion. You can look like you've got a great temperament and not have one. You know, you can sit there like a robot all you like, but if the wheels fall off because you can't handle, you know, missing a ball or anything like that, then, you know, all that matters is what you carry on doing in the match afterwards.
Not letting anything affect your next shot, good or bad.
See, Mark Boyle's just taking a comfort break there, just timely. It's always strange, isn't it, how the players seem to just pop to the toilet after a crucial thing. They never do it after they've just missed, do they?
No, it's amazing how that happens.
No, he's back now. Oh, crafty Mark.
Now this match, unlike the semi-finals, this is a race to 7 in the final, and that extra frame could make all the difference, because it's 5-3 to Mark. If it was a race to 6, he would be a stronger favourite than he is in a race to 7 at 5-3.
Yeah, just I think Neil's got to try and tell himself, you know, you're one dry break away from being 5 each at this top level. You know, you can easily break and dish and then clear off your opponent's dry break. So far from a big underdog in this match, although he is obviously second favourite, being 5-3 down, but got to stay positive.
Yeah, from Mark's side of the table, he's in, because he gets to have that break first, it's his break next. You know, he's thinking to himself, good break here, and I put myself one away from victory.
Yeah, and just heap the pressure on.
Yeah, the pressure of knowing you've got to win 4 frames on the trot makes it very tough to do.
So he's just warming himself up. He did mention earlier it was a little bit cold in the venue. I had a couple of people mention earlier a little bit colder than normal, but I think it's been, the weather's dropped a little bit this last week.
gonna
And it
say-
is like a really cold night tonight. Apparently, it's going to be like 0, -1 kind of thing, like, you know, through the night.
Yeah, it's a little bit cold everywhere.
Yeah, and see, Mark's just been to the toilet. He's just blowing his hands there. Feels a little bit cold. Maybe he's trying to warm himself up.
Maybe he wants to go for another lap of the table. Do a bit more running.
He's one of the players. He's one of the players at the tour that often will have like a jumper over the top of his polo shirt. You know, first thing in the morning, just before he kind of warms up. You know.
Or perhaps he feels the cold a little bit more than some.
Well, he's a slender guy, isn't he? He's not got that same cushion that others have got.
Oh, it's another massive
Great
break from
break.
Mark Boyle.
Oh, and the white's in off.
Oh, you could
That
see
could be
the
exactly what Neil needs.
Oh, you saw him throw his hands up there. He knows how well he hit that break.
It does, yeah. Great break. The white's got nowhere near the pocket, nowhere near the middle pocket. Gets bumped in off, goes in at quite an acute angle, and these yellows are almost unmissable.
Yeah, Mark knew. He knew that before that white went in, he threw his hands up. He knew that is probably the difference between 6-3 and 5-4. And 5-4 with Neil's break. It's a cruel game sometimes. Sometimes you can hit the break badly, and you can put that white straight in off, and you know you've had it's a bad error. But in this case, it is just bad luck.
And like I say, these yellows are. I mean, they're just dot to dot. You cannot miss these. You just cannot fail with the way they're set out. It's such an easy route. We're going to see this go 5-4. We mentioned about 1 dry break can mean 5 each from 5-3. Exactly what Neil's going. He'll be in the back of his mind. He'll be thinking 5 each.
Yeah, he really will. He knows. Mark knows that this should be frame over. And sometimes you can get a little bit careless on these sort of finishes because you know they're so routine. That's not something you ever really associate with Neil. But
No.
you've still got to make sure.
Yeah, exactly. And all he'll done at the start of this frame, you see, he takes his full 30 seconds to decide what he's going to do. Actually took his extension again at the very start of the frame, because all he was doing was just making sure. There's a number of ways he could have gone about this finish, just making sure he's picking the most sensible route, the way that's going to make it easiest for himself. And he's going to go corner bag now, back up for the middle pocket, and then we're going to see him take the yellow in the middle of the table, and then the yellow that's over that, that's covering that pocket, and then take the black into the same pocket.
Probably wanted to be a hair straight on this, but I think he's okay just to be able to drop this in, and
Yeah, he
just
should be all right.
got to be careful not to overrun the positional shot.
Yeah, not in perfect position, but should just about be okay. See the bleepers kicking in as well. It's just a bit nervy there.
You can see the way he's had to play that off the far jaw, played it off to make sure he makes the pot a little bit thicker, just to hold the white up. In fact, he's held it up so well that he's got more angle. He's straight, he was probably hoping to be straight at.
Yeah, if it's straight, he's unmissable, but I think he can just about dig into it enough to get it over to this, the left-hand side of the table. In fact, he doesn't like it, so he's going to have to play a tough shot. He needs to miss that black on the way back up. He's done it well.
He's played that very, very well. And you heard the sound there in the background. That is for a foul time error. But he did hit the shot just in time, so it wasn't a problem. And there'll be no mistakes from here. So Neil Raybone does punish that bit of bad luck from Mark Boyle. And it's 5-4. He goes one behind again. And it'll be his break this time. He needs to find a break and get this back to 5-5, and then it's anyone's game.
Yeah, huge break now. I see Mark just trying to warm his hands up there.
I think he's just a little frustrated because he knows how good. That was probably the best break he hit all night. You know, he's hit some good ones, and that was even as good as anything he's hit. And he knows that was 6-3 if that white doesn't go in. That's how he's going to see it in his head. That's for certain.
Definitely. Like we say, you just got to put that to the back of your mind. You can't dwell on it. knows he's probably going to get, his 2 chances he needs to win this match. Just has to stay calm and be ready for when they come.
10th frame, Neil Raybone to break.
Big moments in this match now.
Huge moments and a huge
Time
break for Neil.
running.
Probably his biggest break in this entire tournament. He's been safely through the first phase 2 as well. An easy match in the semi-final, an easy result in the semi-final in the end. Stayed away from the corner, he's made a ball.
He's hit that break very, very well.
Yeah, this is probably the most pressure he's been under in the whole tournament. I mean, such a safe passage through the, like we say, phase 1 and phase 2, and what turned out to be a comfortable victory against the great player in Jimmy Carney in the semi-finals. It's the most, if not the first real pressure he's been under in the entire event.
No, I think you're absolutely right. He's made such smooth progress. I think that's a very good call. And I was just thinking, as those balls were moving around, if that red goes past the black to the centre pocket, then every red has a pocket, and I'm not sure that it does.
Not quite, no. Can he go down table now? It's a fairly natural angle. He's bound to be on another red. If he can cut this red into this bottom right corner as we look at it, I think a fairly natural angle to just go up and disturb that. Has he just flicked it? That's enough. That's enough.
That is enough. That is a great first shot. Now every ball does have a pocket. Now it's just about holding yourself together. Yes, he's got one on the rail, and he's got to position the white well through this finish. It's not as easy as the previous frame, but they're there.
He hasn't jawed, has he? Oh, Christ.
I think he thought he'd missed it. Just the way he held himself off the shot, I think he thought he'd missed that.
Key to the frame is going to be that red over on that side cushion. I think we may see him leave it till last. Maybe he's going to attack it after. Maybe he's going to attack it now. Whilst he feels like he's got a bit of insurance.
Possibly, but because he's gone after it now, he couldn't get right behind it. He couldn't get close behind it.
Yeah, and look at where he wants to leave the white ball afterwards. He's going to have to play this at pace.
I think this shows a lot of confidence.
It does, but you can kind of play it with confidence, because if you do miss, you're not leaving a finish. Oh, he's nailed it. What a shot.
That's a great shot from Neil
See a
Raybone.
shout out from the crowd there. Go on, Neil.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Go behind that yellow.
That's perfect. That's a much better shot than you realise, because he did not want to be leaving himself have to get that angle to his last ball. He wanted to get on it then. It's a great shot from Neil Raybone, and this is going to be 5 each.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because if you leave that to your last ball, you can't risk not being on it, and therefore you leave it a little bit thin and it can be awkward. The way he's played it to perfection. 2 simple balls to go 5-5.
As we see at the start of this match, there were, I think, 5 missed pots in the first 4 frames and just 1 miss in the next 6. And we've seen, I think, 5 breaking or finishes first visit. This match has really taken off.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Twisting one way, then the next. The minute you think Mark Boyle's got the momentum, Neil Raybone has wrestled it back. And we are 5-5, 3 frames left to play in this match. And both players need 2 of them.
Just look at the stats as well. The breaking dish, the reverse dish. 4 of Neil's 5 frames have been directly from the break. A couple of dry breaks himself has let Mark in, but it's been a really good match now. This is really hotting up. What a finish it's going to be. The final 3 frames. Can you call it? Has it got a decider written all over it?
Well, Mark's, I think it's probably fitting for a decider, but Mark's got 2 breaks out of the 3 frames. The way he's breaking, that could be key.
It could be, but I don't know. I don't think he's broke as well as he did in the first match. It's all to play for. You might as well toss a coin. What a finish this is going to be. The first ever Premier League final. Two players at their very best, playing their best in the final when it really, really matters towards the end of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely incredible stuff from both players. Really treating us.
Frame, Mark Boyle to break.
Needs a ball.
5-5.
He needs a ball off this break. The determined look on his face. What have you got, Mark Boyle? He's made a ball. He's made two. He's
Hit
made three.
them so well.
He's on nothing.
Oh, that's so unlucky. For the second time in 2 breaks, he has finished horrible.
Oh, gutted.
He'll be, it's better than the last one because the white's still on the table, but it is horrible.
That was the perfect break until those last 2 reds stopped rolling, and now it's horrible.
When you look at the rest of the table as well, you think any look at any pot, either colour, and he clears up.
If I'm Mark Boyle, I just think it's just not meant to be. Can he play the red? Can he play the red he's closest to off of the red into the middle pocket?
It's a big shot.
Whoa.
The question I've got is what's his safety options if he doesn't want to take this on? And they're
None.
probably not great, so he may be forced into taking this on.
I mean, I don't know if the red's frozen to the top of the cushion. Can he maybe just rest into it, play like a little double kiss and leave the white kind of where it is now?
But then you'd be leaving, do you want to leave this shot for
He's
Neil or
playing
play it yourself?
He's playing it. Oh, wow. Look at the yellows.
He thought he'd made that when he hit it. Just catches the jaw and stays out.
I just did it slightly too thick. If it's this any thinner, it goes in and he's first in and he's probably going to take a 6-5 lead. Now, Neil has got absolute sitters to go 6-5 up.
Yeah, the only thing that will stop Neil from winning this frame will be the pressure of the situation because these are wide open. Okay, the angle he's got on this first one, he's not going to be getting close to his next ball, but
he's just got to be over the moon. He's at the table.
Yeah.
You are right, though. He's just coming. He can't get anywhere near the centre of the table, really. He's still going to be in that top sort of third of the table, I think. That's as well as he could have done. He's not on the one to this. He's not on anything on the left-hand side of the table,
Yeah,
apart from the thinner cut.
If he's on the yellow to the bottom left, then this finish is routine. If not, he needs to get onto that yellow at some point.
Yeah, can he see the... I don't think he can see this yellow. He can't see the yellow closest to the black, so... an extra inch away from being perfect. Oh, that's come out really good. That's a great shot from Neil Raybone.
He's still got work to do, though. It's still not a great angle.
Yeah, it's just one tricky shot after another.
Yeah, he had a finish earlier on in this match where you just never felt he quite got control of it, and he wasn't able to wrestle it back and ended up turning the table over to Mark. He'll be desperate not to do that again.
Playing this with loads of bottom right hand side. Needs it to react straight away. He's got into it, but is that any good?
He's still not perfect.
Well, he's on something, but it's not perfect, no. Might have to see him play this yellow into the right middle, but screw into the other yellow. And that's just fraught with danger. Needs to judge it perfectly. This is huge. Well, he's decided to come behind it.
That's not gone great.
That's not gone great, no. There's a clap. There's a ripple of applause. I've got no idea why.
I think that this probably does cut back, but the white is very loose. He's going to be flying the white around the table. He could play a double into the centre pocket with some control.
I think he's got to play it into the corner. I think he can just miss these reds on the way up, and it will probably miss the red in the middle of the table on the way down. Oh, no, he's not. He's nowhere near. Where's the white gone? No! Oh, wow.
Kind of always felt there was something coming in that visit the whole way through from the very first shot he played, where he finished an inch or two short of perfect position. He could not wrestle it back.
Yeah, his other option, he could have played it with a little bit of stun and gone above the reds and back down, but I totally understand why he played it that way, because apart from flicking off because you're always going to hit the red at the sort of bottom side of you're always going to have a shot on the black, always, unless you're going off. It's really unlucky, to be honest.
Mark's purposely leaving the red over the right centre because he needs that to get onto the red on the bottom rail. So this is, as long as he doesn't finish straight here, he wants a decent amount of angle.
Yeah, he's got a good angle, but this is by no means a gimme. At 5 each in the Premier League final, the best against the best. He has to make this pot, and probably got a fraction more angle than he'd like, but
It's better to have too much angle than not enough, I suppose.
not enough. Yeah, if you just concentrate, as long as you make the pot, you're going to be okay. Pressure on this, and it's there.
Fantastic shot from Mark Boyle.
Great shot, Mr. Magic.
And a lovely little angle to get onto the red on the bottom rail. Again, doesn't really want to finish absolutely straight, wants a little bit of angle.
Yeah, we see a bit of a kind of a draggy bottom right, a bit on this, and it's perfectly played. It's perfect. He's got the perfect angle, and this is going to be 6-5 Boyle. After he's missed that first red, he's probably thought he's definitely 6-5 down.
He could be even thinking, I may not play another shot in this match.
Yeah.
And simple black to go 6-5 ahead, and 1 frame away from the Premier League title. And it's amazing how the luck can play a part in Paul. He was so unlucky with the break for the second time for consecutive breaks. But it's a piece of bad luck for Neil that has the biggest effect on the frame.
Yeah, look, obviously if Neil was in position the whole way round, yeah, fair enough, okay, he kind of has only got himself to blame, but that last shot where he's cut that ball in the corner pocket and he's gone into that, he's got into one of Mark's reds. He knew he was doing that. It was a calculated risk. The white wasn't flying all over the place. It could have gone anywhere but that middle pocket, and he has a shot on the black. I don't like saying that people are unlucky when ultimately it is in their own hands, but that was unlucky. It was a calculated risk. Yeah,
the shot he played is unlucky, but you're right in that he will know he probably should have got control of that white better earlier in the visit and not had to play that shot. But there's still some fortune there. But from Mark's side of the table, he has made that counter finish look a lot easier than it actually was.
It's ultra cool, ultra calm.
Yeah, never out of perfect position the whole way through it. So it's Neil that has the break. He needs to find the way this match has gone. You feel he has to find a ball and get himself another chance for a break and dish.
Training 6 frames to 5. Time running.
Huge break for Neil Raybone, the biggest of his Premier League tournament so far. Needs a ball. The white went towards the middle, but he's got a ball.
Yeah, he's mishit that break. He was lucky the white didn't go in off.
What's he on?
But he has made a ball.
He can make a red, he can make a yellow. He's got one problem area, bottom right. But he's at the table, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, he'll be pleased that he's at the table. He'll be pleased that he gets to play the next shot. And I think he'll be relatively pleased with the split. It's not perfect.
It's not, but if you gave him this table, but you make a ball for sure, he'd have snapped your hand off for it. And we're really going to see what Neil's made of now, because after that last frame, I think we did a bit of a disservice saying it was a really simple finish, because he was slightly off angle on his first yellow, and that ultimately sort of one thing led to another. But
it was all about that first shot. He didn't quite get it right, and it was
similar
harder
to
than we
what
ever
he's got
gave
now.
it. Yeah, we didn't really give it the credit it deserved on its difficulty, but especially considering the pressure. But this time he's got that one problem area which you've talked about, but he's got a very good couple of balls to develop it with.
yeah, we've just come and just see him come around the table and just line up exactly where he needs to be. I think this is perfect. Would have liked to have been a bit further over, but a little bit further over than where he is now, but he's got the angle. He's got the angle to go into this, and if he controls the cannon, he should be on a yellow into the left middle afterwards.
Do you think he has to take the right hand of the two yellows?
I
Can he
don't
take the top
know.
one? If he can take the left hand one, it's a lot easier. It has to be the right hand one.
Yeah, and doesn't need to crash into this. Just a controlled cannon. He has played that
Great
so
shot.
well. That's a great shot from Neil Raybone.
That is a frame-winning shot.
What a shot. We talk about cool, calm, collected. You know, with Mark Boyle in that last frame to take it 6-5, but that shot there under as much pressure as he's maybe been under in his entire career. What a shot to play.
Yeah, and it was similar to a shot he had earlier in the match in terms of the potting angle, and he missed it by a long, long way. I think he's missed 3 pots in the match. One of the pots he missed was similar to that. So just added to the pressure, but played it very, very well.
What a treat to get a deciding frame in this final as well. What a final it's been. It's had a bit of everything. A couple of misses at the start, pure brilliance in the middle. 1 miss at the end. Bit of drama. Don't underhit this, Neil. You can overhit it, but don't underhit it. It's perfect.
Simple black to tie the scores and take us to a deciding frame.
It's deserved the decider, hasn't it? There hasn't been one player that's definitely been much better than the other. It's deserved the decider.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of everything in this match. There's been some nerves, there's been a couple of misses, there's been some absolutely incredible finishes, and there's been some perfect ball played at times as well. And we have had over 3 months in this Premier League, and we are down to 1 frame. We started with 10 of the best players in the world. We lost 4. Everyone played each other again. We lost 2 more. Came down to our final 4. We are now down to our final 2. And it comes down to this frame.
We have mentioned time and time and time again how important the break shot is. And we're just about to see now the biggest break maybe of Mark Boyle's entire career. Live TV final. This will be the biggest break of his entire career.
And he's been hitting the break like a dream tonight, and he's been very, very unlucky on his previous 2 breaks.
You see, he's enjoying it. He enjoys being out there. He loves the big occasion. He's having a little chat with Neil. Getting all friendly for lads.
They're both very relaxed.
Let's see some daggers.
Final frame, Mark Boyle to break. 6-6.
So here we go.
Time running.
Soon see Mark's face drop if he goes dry off this break. Needs a ball. Needs a ball. Keep a close eye on Mark's face after he makes this break. He needs a ball.
Where's the
Where's
white
the
going?
white gone? Oh, where's it gone again? What's he on? Red, yellow? He's made a ball.
He's made a couple of balls, but
He's
is he
in.
on a pot? Does he have a shot on?
Oh, he's got something. He's Mr. Magic. He'll find something, won't he? Ooh.
Oh, that white
It's had
was
2 stabs, hasn't it? It's had 2 goes again.
It's not obvious what he's got as a first shot. This could all be about the first shot. If he finds one, then they are all there, whichever colour set he decides to go for. He's going to want reds. How does he make a red, Dan?
He doesn't. He can't make a red. He can't play a plant. He can't squeeze it enough. He can't make a red. He's got to go yellows, and yellows isn't what he wants.
Yellows are still there, but they're much harder.
And
He's got red to the centre.
Now. This is with his extension. Is he playing red onto the yellow? A plant. Oh, what a shot! Oh, it's come out great. What a shot that is from Mark Boyle.
Phenomenal shot. That is absolutely incredible. I thought he might be able to see the yellow over the middle pocket. He obviously couldn't. Had to come out with that plant. And that, you have to say, that's 3 good breaks on the trot where he's been unlucky.
Yeah.
But he has managed to find one there.
But this is far from over. I mean, look at that yellow on the left-hand side of the table. See again just what an athlete Mark Boyle is. Look at the stretch on him.
Yellow on the bottom end of the table as well. That's not great. I think it does go. It makes it a lot easier if it goes to the bottom left than if it only goes to the bottom right.
Yeah, I think it goes both corner pockets, but this is tough. I mean, may see him leave a double on that yellow as his last ball on the left-hand side of the table. May see him play it bottom left. Might even see him play it top left. And use the red to make it a bigger pocket, but rather you than me, Mark. Oh, it's a great shot. Needs to slow up.
Doesn't want that flick.
Doesn't want to be tight. Oh, is he all right?
He's just
about all right. It's a nervy one. I don't like these.
Yeah, he's a delicate little one, but he only needs to make the pot because the yellow's there for the centre pocket, and then he'll have choices of what to do on that last yellow.
If he's just a couple of centimetres closer to that, it's end of visit. And he needed to avoid the double hit there.
Yeah, he's played that
Horrible
well.
shots to play under pressure.
They
But he's
are.
played it well.
Looks like he's got the angle to be able to just drop on this down the rail.
Yeah, it's going to...
What a
Wow.
horrible shot to leave.
Horrible shot. And he's not going to be able to get too close to it either because the natural angle is taking it slightly away from that middle pocket, I think. It is, yeah, that's the closest he could have got. And he oh, wow. You want to be right behind these. You don't want to be leaving this.
Yeah, and
He's cleaned the ball.
a little bit of experience there.
Even the ref's nervous.
I don't blame him. Neil can't look.
Time running.
Just give himself an extra few seconds to compose himself. And the thing is as well, I think he plays it plain ball. I think he can just about play it plain ball and just concentrate on the pot only.
Oh, great
There,
shot.
what a shot! He's celebrating before he's even potted the black. You don't want to kick now, Boyle.
That was a great shot.
And it's there!
And no mistakes with the black. Fantastic finish there from Mark Boyle. And he is the 2018 IPA Free Sports Premier League champion. What an incredible final from both players. Absolutely fantastic.
Wow, what a final.
There was so much work through that whole finish.
See there, and there's just two breaking dishes from Mark Boyle there, but the most important one of all was to win that match, and he didn't have an easy finish, but balls and courage he showed to get those in that final frame.
Yeah, that first shot he had was absolutely incredible to pull out that plant. The finish after it was incredible, but the plant itself was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and Neil will be gutted, obviously, to lose a final, as you would with any final, but he's played his part in a great match there, and although it started a little bit edgy towards the end of that match, it was just top-class pull from those last sort of, 10 frames?
Yeah, from
last 9 or 10 frames.
From the break, it was just absolutely high quality all the way through. I think a missed pot each from both players, and it could have gone either way, and to be fair, both players would have deserved it. But it has gone to the Scotsman. Mark Boyle is the champion, and we will be back after the break to see him crowned.
all came down to the playing arena after we've just witnessed one of the great IPA finals of all time between two great players. So first of all, a round of applause for both players for an absolutely superb final. We've just about caught our breath after that breathtaking final, and unfortunately there has to be a loser. He played his part in a great final. Neil Raybone. Neil, I know you'd be disappointed, but that was some final.
Yeah, it was a great final. I missed a couple of balls here and there, but yeah, kept my head, and yeah, fair play to Mark. He knocked a great finish in at 6 each, so yeah, well done to Mark.
Were you just praying for a shot of some sort in that last frame?
Yeah, I was hoping really, because obviously Mark broke, and I think he wanted to go reds, but he couldn't really pop one, so he went yellow. So I was thinking I could get back to the table, but he knocked a great yellow in under pressure down the rail to win. So yeah, fair play. And
you were really unlucky at 5-all when you just put your last ball and the white went off in the middle.
Yeah, obviously you can't write it really, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Obviously, some days it goes your way, some days it doesn't. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't my day today. So. Well,
Neil, you've played absolutely fantastically during the Premier League. Well done again, a great performance.
Okay, thanks, Kev. Thanks.
Neil Raybone. And receiving the trophy and becoming the first IPA Premier League champion, Mark Boyle. Mark, how are you feeling?
Shattered. On top of the world, that was some match. It started off, we both missed chances at the start, just a bit edgy. But you're always going to get that in a final, and then come the end of it, it was just whenever you got a chance, you had to take it, you know. Because I know how class Neil is. You've got to be on your game to beat a player like that. But just over the moon, especially that last clearance there at the end.
Obviously, you and Neil, two of the world's best players. It was probably destined to go to a deciding frame.
I didn't want it to go to a deciding frame because I had a break to go. It was 5-3 up, and I hit them well, and I thought, oh good, this is a good chance to go 6-3. And before I know it, it was 5 each, you know. So I think the way the match went, it was destined, as you say.
You've put some motorway miles in to make the Premier League. It's a great way to cap the event off for you.
Yeah, it was about 6,000 miles at the time you add it up, because I went to Australia. No, it makes it worthwhile, and it takes something back home for the kids and that.
And lots of support back home.
Well, my phone's lit up like a Christmas tree this week and last week. Just the following you get through Pool, it's went leaps and bounds since we've been on like Free Sports and BBC. It's been amazing.
And a word for your opponent, Neil, obviously pushed you all the way, and a really gallant loser.
Yeah, Neil's a gentleman. He's one of the nicest guys you can meet on the tour. There's nothing you can say about Neil apart from good things. You know, he's an amazing player. You know what you get when you play against him, and he's a gentleman in every way. So he's a credit to his family. You know.
Well, after 15 breathtaking weeks, Mark Boyle, you are the Premier League champion. Congratulations.
Yes, Kev. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes,
Well, that caps off a great 15 weeks here in Solihull, the Premier League. We're back on Free Sports Live on the 16th of November for the Masters, so I hope you can join us then. Good night.